Chapter 780. Lu Chen had already brought these Bai far away, but he was now in a tough battle. The Bai chased after him relentlessly. Lu Chen had no choice but to kill them a few more times. As a result, 7 of these Bai had already revived 4 times. This was the result of Lu Chen's efforts to balance their strength. If one of them died 5 times, it would be even more troublesome. The current Bai was on a completely different level compared to the beginning. Their speed was so fast that it was difficult to see them with the naked eye. Lu Chen had to use Heaven's Eye and keep moving to barely deal with them. Moreover, their moves had become more lethal. With sound attacks and ice elements, Lu Chen did not dare to be careless. Lu Chen was also complaining incessantly. He had originally come to deal with the 8-tailed beast, but as soon as he entered the snowy mountain, he encountered a few small fries that could make him so miserable. He even had to activate 3 lives reincarnation to ensure that his displacement skill did not have a cooldown. No, they're too fast. They want to surround me now. Lu Chen's mind raced. The situation was getting more and more dangerous. He had to change. I have to kill all of them at once. Only by taking advantage of the respawn time can I have a chance to escape. After making up his mind, Lu Chen gritted his teeth, braked, and quickly gathered power. Tiger descends the mountain. Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Now, only this skill could allow Lu Chen to kill all 8 Bai at the same time. 1080 sword auras shot out from the infinite divine demon sword. For a moment, the snowy night seemed to be illuminated at this moment. The Bai at the front was about to pounce over, but after a few slashes it was forcefully stunned. At this moment, its claws were only a few dozen centimeters away from Lu Chen. It was obvious how tightly these wild beasts were chasing after him. The sword auras hit the Bai like a storm, dismembering several of them in an instant. Of the 8 Bai, except for one that was killed for the first time, the rest had died for the 5th time. Run! Night Flash! Lu Chen did not even look back as he turned and ran. If these guys resurrected, Lu Chen would really be in danger. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen disappeared without a trace. After a long while, Lu Chen took a deep breath and looked back. Those monsters had finally stopped chasing him. F***CK. Luckily they didn't catch up. My stamina is already exhausted. Lu Chen stopped, his hands on his knees as he panted heavily. He turned around to confirm again, but there was still nothing behind him. Ah, what the hell is this? Is it because you can't afford to play it? How are you going to play it if you resurrect infinitely? Lu Chen took a deep breath and stood up straight. Not long after, a lone figure appeared behind Lu Chen. Lu Chen was so scared that he quickly hid behind a rock. No way, he's still caught up. Lu Chen checked his own stamina. He was unable to continue fighting. Why is there only one? Its eyes are red, so it should be the one that died once. Lu Chen carefully observed. The Tao Wu was running, but it seemed to be in a sorry state. It did not look like it was chasing him, but more like it was running away. It saw Lu Chen's footprints and actually chose to run in another direction? What's going on? Lu Chen was puzzled. When the Tao Wu ran far away, Lu Chen crawled out of the snow. Without a doubt, this Tao Wu was definitely the weakest of the 8. After all, it had only died once. Logically speaking, if they wanted to kill him, it should be the last one. However, there was only one now, and it looked like it was avoiding him. It can't be afraid of me, right? Lu Chen narrowed his eyes as he thought of this. He did not believe in infinite resurrection, especially after seeing this Tao Wu's abnormal behavior. Lu Chen could not help but want to go back and take a look. Xiao Min, give me an invisibility spell. Let's go back and take a look. Back at the previous battlefield, Lu Chen saw the dark red ground from afar. The corpses of the Tao Wu were still lying in the snow, and the snow had already been dyed red with blood. They didn't resurrect? Lu Chen's eyes widened as he carefully approached. The corpses on the ground were incomplete, just like when Lu Chen killed them. Ha ha! They really didn't resurrect. Lu Chen quickly approached. Looking at the corpses, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. It was not because he had killed 7 Tao Wu, but because he had found a way to kill them. So they died after 5 kills. If I had known, I wouldn't have had to run so desperately. If the system had experienced notifications, Lu Chen would not have been unaware that he had killed a Tao Wu. Right, magical beasts are full of treasures. Let's see if there's anything useful. Having been in the trading market for a long time, Lu Chen had seen people selling magical beast hides and bones, which were tailoring and refining materials. Since they were killed by the sacred lotus sword heart, the corpses of these Tao Wu were almost never intact. The hides and bones probably could not be sold for a good price. However, Lu Chen found a few pearls in their bodies. What are these pearls? Obtained item, 5th transformation dragon species, beast core. It's a beast core? Lu Chen did not have much need for beast cores now. As long as his divine beasts grew to adulthood, they could fuse into a beast god. There was no need for them to continue growing. However, the beast god still needed to grow in the future. This item would definitely be useful. Lu Chen put all 7 5th transformation dragon species beast cores into his backpack and picked up a few pieces of meat for cooking in the future. Good. As long as it's not unsolvable, I'll know how to kill it when I see it in the future. Lu Chen heaved a sigh of relief. However, I don't know if it's the same for the 8-tailed beast. It will become stronger after killing it once. If it needs to be killed 8 times, that's a little scary. That Tao Wu that ran away, did it call for help? Forget it. I know how to kill it anyway. The only thing that made Lu Chen's heart ache was that he had to use the sacred lotus sword heart again. The one he used during the Spou's Finding Martial Arts competition would only be recovered after 4 days. In other words, he could only use the sacred lotus sword heart once during this commissioned mission. Forget it. It's more important to ensure my safety at that time. After dealing with the polar Tao Wu, Lu Chen began to walk back. When he returned to the original campsite, the fire on the ground had been extinguished. However, the 2 people here were nowhere to be seen. Where are they? Lu Chen stood on a rock. He could not see the Grand Elder and the woman. He could only see a series of blurry footprints on the ground. Most of them had been covered by the wind and snow. They probably heard the sound of my fight and ran away. I can't just run away with 20,000 cash withdrawal tickets. Thinking of this, Lu Chen hurriedly chased after the footprints. At dawn, a meteor streaked across the clear night sky. Shui looked at the meteor in a daze. Grand Elder, that cultivator ran away in the end. The Grand Elder walked over. Shui, every man for himself and the devil takes the hindmost. The human heart has always been like this. Don't worry. Even if I die, I will send you there. Grand Elder, don't die. Shui turned her head and looked at the Grand Elder sadly. Her pair of bright eyes were full of tears and twinkling like stars. The Grand Elder smiled. Okay. I won't die. I still want to see Shui get married and have children. I really don't know which stinking brat has the good fortune to marry our Shui. Grand Elder. Shui dragged her voice coquettishly. Okay. I won't say any more. There's still a long way to go. Let's go. Chapter 781. The wind and snow had completely covered their footprint. Lu Chen had lost his target. Rhubarb. Lu Chen called out Rhubarb. Maybe it could find them. Let's see if we can find those 2 people. The wind and snow were too heavy, covering their scent. Even Rhubarb found it very difficult to track them. Woof. You said you sensed the direction of the treasure, but were not sure if it was them? Rhubarb had a special sensitivity to treasures, even beyond the scope of smell. Lu Chen thought for a moment. Those 2 guys were very mysterious. It was very likely that they had treasures on them. Moreover, there was no one else around. Rhubarb felt that it was them. It should be them. Rhubarb, follow the treasure. Rhubarb wagged its tail and ran to the front to lead the way. Lu Chen followed Rhubarb. Rhubarb, have you made any progress in comprehending the 9 turns black gold mirror? I see you looking at the mirror every day. Woof woof woof. You still haven't comprehended it? Well, take your time to comprehend it. Be careful of little furball. Don't let it eat your mirror. Little furball, that guy, must be vigilant at all times. A man and a dog moved forward with difficulty in the snow. Lu Chen didn't know when those 2 people left. Moreover, they seemed to be in a hurry. Their speed was probably not fast. After chasing for a day, Lu Chen still couldn't catch up. However, on the way, Lu Chen saw several waves of corpses of dragon-type magical beasts. There were snow foxes, snow wolves, snow leopards. These corpses were already stiff. The cores of the dragon-type magical beasts had already been taken away. Lu Chen exhaled a long breath. Suddenly, it turned into steam. Fortunately, we didn't meet Bian. Judging from their size, these magical beasts don't look very strong. How could those 2 guys run so fast? There was a battle in the middle. Logically speaking, I should be able to catch up with them. In the afternoon, the sun was high in the sky. Unfortunately, the temperature did not rise much. Instead, it became colder and colder. It was also at this time that Lu Chen discovered that there were some footprints in front of them, which meant that they were not far away. Lu Chen hurriedly ran to the footprints and examined them carefully. The footprints in front of them were a little messy. They seemed to be a little flustered. There were a few changes in the footprints. Some of them turned back halfway, and some of them seemed to be deliberately covered up. Could it be that they're afraid that I'll catch up to them, so they're deliberately disrupting my judgment? How much do you dislike me? Rhubarb said that they were in the northwest direction, but the footprints on the ground showed that they were heading north. That meant that they had used some tricks to fake the footprint. After careful consideration, Lu Chen muttered to himself, "There's still 1.5 days before we leave the snow mountain. They shouldn't be guarding against me. Even if they don't like me, they wouldn't deliberately fake footprints to mislead me. If they were about to leave the snowy mountain, they might have misled him in order to escape the rewards." However, they were only halfway through the journey and had yet to encounter the 8-tailed beast. It was impossible for them to spend so much effort just to mislead him. Could it be they've found the 8-tailed beast? The senior grand uncle was very strong. The battles along the way didn't take up too much time. Lu Chen estimated that even if he encountered the 5th transformation Swanee, he might not be in such a difficult situation. Therefore, it was possible that they had encountered a powerful magical beast. Thinking of this, Lu Chen's eyes turned cold. Rhubarb, they might be in danger. Let's hurry up. Not long after, Lu Chen saw a huge footprint. The footprint was nearly 10 meters long. It was obviously not human. 4 plum blossom prints at a time. 8-tailed snow fox? Lu Chen's eyes widened. Such a huge footprint was much bigger than those of ordinary snow foxes. It was very likely that it was an 8-tailed snow fox. The snow fox's tracking direction was not wrong. It was chasing after the 2 people. Rhubarb faster. Until nightfall, Lu Chen still hadn't caught up with them. One was chasing and the other was running in front of him. Presumably, their speed would not be slower than his. The higher they went, the stronger the wind and snow. Especially at night, the resistance brought by the strong wind made it difficult to move. The wind and snow made it hard for them to open their eyes. The footprints disappeared again. Lu Chen could only rely on Rhubarb. Rhubarb's physique was not outstanding. Lu Chen simply carried Rhubarb, opened the heaven observation eye, and continued on their way. Looking down at Rhubarb, the dog's head was almost frozen. Lu Chen wrapped it in his clothes, only revealing 2 eyes. "Rhubarb, if you can't hold on, just tell me." Woof woof woof. Rhubarb's condition was still stable. In the fierce wind and snow, A blurry figure could be seen moving against the wind and snow with difficulty. For the 20,000 cash withdrawal coupons, I'm really going all out. At dawn, the sky was slightly brighter. The wind and snow had weakened a lot. Lu Chen finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, an avalanche suddenly occurred thousands of meters away. A large amount of snow rushed down from the mountain top. At this moment, facing the avalanche, Lu Chen's eyes were about to split open. Damn! I can't stop it. Lu Chen hurriedly looked to the side. Not far away, there was a rock covered in snow protruding out of the mountain. There was a gap under the rock. He didn't even have time to think and directly rushed over with a triple door. A sudden avalanche. Has the battle already begun? Lu Chen was somewhat anxious. However, he couldn't go out at this time. He could only wait for the avalanche to end. Boom, 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 boom. The avalanche lasted for a few minutes. Lu Chen was directly buried in the snow. Fortunately, the space under the rock was large enough, so his life was not in danger. When the avalanche ended, Lu Chen climbed out of the snow pile. Listening carefully, he did not know where in the distance there were indeed bursts of explosions. They're really fighting. Lu Chen hurriedly used his movement technique and rushed in the direction of the sound. At this time, the corner of the Grand Elder's mouth was bleeding. There was a deep scratch on his chest, and the bleeding was temporarily blocked by an ice spell. Opposite him sat a giant beast. It was a huge snow fox that was 60 to 70 meters tall. The 8 snow-white tails behind it kept swaying. The snow fox sat elegantly, calm and composed, sacred and elegant. The snow fox's red eyes looked indifferently at the two people in front of it. Earth Elementalist? No wonder you can make me activate the 5th transformation. Your strength is not bad. If you were running for your life, it would take me some effort to kill you. However, you have a burden with you. The final result can only be death here together. The snow fox actually spoke human language. The Grand Elder panted heavily. He held the sword in his hand and blocked in front of Shui. 8 tails you, why can't you let us go? Let you go? It's not impossible. As long as you leave the girl behind, it doesn't make any difference whether I kill you or not. Impossible! The Grand Elder shouted. Over my dead body. So, if you can't agree to my request, why do you have to make such an outrageous request? Don't think that I can't see that there's something I like on that woman. You're not going to Snow Mountain City. You're going to the ancient Snow Mountain City. You want to revive the ice god? No, you can't do it. Since I've activated the 5th transformation, the game is over. Thousand Fox Phantom, Heart-Eating. Chapter 782. Thousand Fox Phantom sounded like a displacement skill, but in fact, it was a powerful attack skill. The original body of the 8-tailed snow fox was still sitting there, but its body turned into a shadow and rushed toward the Grand Elder. The illusory figures were extremely fast, and each collision caused a terrifying spiritual attack. Facing the 8-tailed snow fox's killing move, the Grand Elder's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Shui, run! Strengthen Martial God's Fire Scythe Shield Array. The Grand Elder held his scythe spear and danced in front of him. The spear emitted raging flames and formed a flaming shield. At the same time, the Grand Elder threw out a talisman. The talisman was ignited by the flames and instantly strengthened the Fire Scythe Shield Array. This Grand Elder was at least a talisman master and a grandmaster of combat at the same time. Rings of fire shot out and violently collided with the Thousand Fox Phantom. Boom, 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 boom. A series of deafening noises sounded. Every time a ring of fire collided with the Thousand Fox Phantom, it created a ring of air that spread outwards. The violent tremors caused a second avalanche at the peak of the snow mountain. At this moment, the Grand Elder and the 8-tailed snow fox's moves were still clashing. The rings of fire and the illusions of the snow foxes collided with one after another. From the looks of their moves, the two were evenly matched. However, the key was the state of the two users. The eight-tailed snow fox was calm and composed, sitting there as steady as Mount Tai. The Grand Elder's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and his face was filled with pain. "Grand Elder, your injuries!" Shwe roared with heartache. "Don't worry about me. Run, I can still delay it for a while." "Grand Elder! Run! Otherwise, I'll die in vain." The Grand Elder clenched his teeth and desperately held on. Shwe's feelings for the Grand Elder were closer than her own grandfather, but now she had to watch the Grand Elder die in front of her. This pain was hard to accept. "Want to run? Do you think she can?" The Snow Fox suddenly said indifferently, "If you were in your peak state, you might be able to force me to use my 6th class advancement state. But looking at you, you're obviously holding on by force. I'm only in my 5th class advancement state, and you're already in such a sorry state. We haven't even reached the peak of the snow mountain. Do you think she can run away?" After barely blocking the 1,000-fox phantom, the Grand Elder supported himself on the ground with his sickle spear, panting heavily. His old injury had relapsed, and the situation was worse than he had imagined. His physical strength was rapidly declining, and at the same time, his spiritual energy consumption had doubled. If he could rest a little longer in South Town City and wait for his injuries to recover, he could at least escape with Shwe again. However, time waits for no one. They had already pushed the departure date to the very end. The enhanced martial god's fire scythe shield array was another skill that consumed a lot of stamina. He had already killed the 8-tailed beast 4 times before and had consumed a lot of stamina. Now that he was facing an even stronger 5-transformation 8-tailed beast, he was really powerless. Hachibi was right. If he didn't kill it, Shwe wouldn't have been able to escape. Taking a deep breath, the Grand Elder stood up straight. His eyes suddenly became extremely calm. "Shwe, I can't watch you get married and have children." "Granduncle, what are you doing?" The Grand Elder had been staring at the 8-tailed beast. The 8-tailed beast can reach 8 transformation at most. Even if I'm in my peak state, I can't defeat it, but I can still hold it back for a while. Shwe, I know you're soft-hearted, but you have to understand that your mission is related to the lives of more people. I can't bear to leave you, but Jiutian is cruel. Listen to the Grand Elder this time and leave immediately. It's up to fate whether we can escape or not." The 8-tailed beast looked at the Grand Elder indifferently. "You're really stubborn. I said she can't escape. How are you going to hold me back?" The Grand Elder narrowed his eyes slightly and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The corner of his mouth rose slightly. Lu Chen smiled cruelly. "What am I going to hold you back? I'm going to hold you back with my life. Martial God, reverse blood return. Shwe, run. Don't let me die in vain." The Grand Elder shouted angrily. His figure had turned into a sword light and shot toward the 8-tailed beast. A burst of bloody light burst out from the Grand Elder's body. His eyes were glowing red, and he seemed to have turned into a completely different person. His speed had reached a level where the naked eye couldn't see him. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the 8-tailed beast. The 8-tailed beast was finally moved. What skill is this? How can the improvement be so great?" Shwe looked at the Grand Elder's back and was already crying. Reverse blood return could completely unleash a person's potential. All attributes, combat ability, and even the damage coefficient of the skill would be greatly improved. However, such a heaven-defying skill also had a terrifying backfire effect. Every second, Taishu's blood flowed backwards. Taishu had to endure tremendous physical pain every second. Every second the skill lasted, Taishu's chances of survival decreased by a fraction after the skill ended. Just like the name of the skill, reverse blood return. Grand Elder. Shwe held back her tears. She knew that this was the Grand Elder's last resort. If she didn't run, then the Grand Elder would really die in vain. The past flashed before her eyes. Ever since she was young, the Grand Elder had taken care of her. Ever since she went into exile, the Grand Elder had risked his life for her countless times. She had already regarded the Grand Elder as a family member who was closer than her parents. If it weren't for protecting her, with the Grand Elder's aptitude, he wouldn't have stopped at earth cultivation. However, no matter how hard the days outside were, with the Grand Elder around, it was the warmest and safest. However, the Grand Elder was finally going to leave. The only thing she could do was to make sure the Grand Elder didn't die in vain. Thinking of this, Shwe-er turned around angrily and ran all the way. Her falling tears turned into icicles in minutes. Oh my God, there's another avalanche! Lu Chen was rushing in this direction and encountered another avalanche on the way. However, after the first avalanche, the situation this time seemed to be much better. Lu Chen ran all the way and rushed out of the avalanche's range. While escaping in a panic, Lu Chen suddenly saw a figure in front of him moving towards the top of the mountain. It's that girl. Lu Chen hurriedly used continuous displacement and quickly caught up with Shwe. At this time, there was only one thought in Shwe-er's mind. She couldn't let the Grand Elder die in vain. She could only run with all her might. She didn't even notice that Lu Chen was close to her. Lu Chen used the triple door and came behind Shwe-er, grabbing her arm. Shwe-er was greatly alarmed at this moment, and she instinctively struck out with her palm. Hey, are you crazy? It's me. Lu Chen hurriedly dodged. Shwe-er's eyelashes were covered with tears. She was in a terrible state. It's you? If it were any other time, Shwe-er would definitely ask Lu Chen why he was here. However, she was devastated and didn't want to care about anything. She didn't ask any more questions and turned to leave. Hey, wait. Where's the Grand Elder? The Grand Elder? Shwe-er's footsteps suddenly stopped. I say, why did you two leave me alone? Do you know how hard it was for me to chase after you? Lu Chen was full of complaints. If it weren't for the fact that Shwe-er was in a daze, he would probably argue with her. Is the Grand Elder stopping the Eight Tails? Lu Chen roughly guessed the situation. Shwe-er nodded while crying. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Very good, the Eight Tails finally appeared. Bring me there. Shwe-er was stunned. What was this guy doing? Even as cannon fodder, she had never met such a conscientious person. What are you talking about? Hurry! Lu Chen urged. Chapter 783. Right now, Shwe-er was completely out of her wits. After being urged by Lu Chen like this, she subconsciously brought him back. She still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. She was willing to try any glimmer of hope, even if it was this brainless cannon fodder. The two of them hurried back. At this time, Taishu was fighting the snow fox to the death. What a suicidal attack! The Eight Tails dodged Taishu's attack and dodged to the side. It had been seriously injured by Taishu. Earth elementalists were indeed earth elementalists. Even with the recurrence of old injuries, they could still seriously injure the snow fox. Even so, the Eight Tails was not nervous at all. After all, it still had 3 resurrections, and each time it revived, it would be even stronger. I want to see how long your reverse blood fusion can last. It's enough to kill you once more. Raging Flame's talisman. Taishu ignored the blood flowing from his body and quickly flashed in front of the Eight Tails. Sky-splitting raging flames slash. Damn it. This is crazy. There's even a talisman array. Celestial Fox Meteor Ice Drill. Once again, the two skills collided head-on. One was ice, the other fire, and the other was ice blue. Half of the sky was dyed red, and the other half was dyed ice blue. Carrying an immense might, the two skills fiercely collided in midair. A huge amount of energy dissipated and instantly formed a white ball of spiritual energy. It continuously accumulated and expanded until it reached a diameter of 100 meters. A moment later, the spiritual energy ball exploded. The snow on the ground was blown up, and a huge crater appeared on the exposed mountain. The entire snowy mountain seemed to be shaking. Fierce avalanches were happening in various areas. With the reverse blood fusion, various buffs, and the Raging Flames talisman, Taishu's move could be said to be destructive. Even someone as strong as the 5 Revolutions 8 Tails was unable to withstand this attack, and could only be smashed into smithereens. Looking at the corpse of the 8 Tails on the ground, Taishu could no longer support his body. He knelt on one knee, trembling and panting. Killing the 8 Tails did not make him happy at all. This was because he knew that when the 8 Tails was reborn, it would be impossible for him to defeat it. The only consolation was that Xue should have run far away by now. Her chances of survival were at least higher. As expected, the 8 Tails was reborn again. This time, its eyes had turned golden. His body was even larger than before, and his snow-white fur billowed in the wind. His 8 tails danced wildly behind him, covering the sky and the sun. It walked towards the Grand Elder step by step. Its posture was elegant, and its eyes were gloomy. Senior Grand Elder was powerless to stand up again. He looked up at the huge Hachibi and smiled. "Didn't you say that I can't beat your 6th turn? Ha 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 ha, what about now?" Very good, very good. You actually forced me to use my 6th transformation." Although Hachibi's tone was calm, it was obvious that he was suppressing his anger. As expected of the protector of the Saintess of Snow, you two must have a good relationship. Don't worry, I'll let you live. I want you to watch me kill the Snow Saintess with your own eyes. That's right, I want you to see your hopes shattered with your own eyes. Only then will you feel despair. The Grand Elder's body trembled even more. He would rather die in battle if he had to see Xue, or being killed with his own eyes. The Hachibi had grasped his weakness. Of course, this weakness wasn't too difficult to guess. With my 6th transformation, it won't be difficult to catch up to her. When the time comes, I'll slowly torture her. I want you to see your master being abused by me. Ha 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 ha, it's really interesting just thinking about it. You dare. As long as I'm still alive, I won't allow you to hurt Xue or... Oh, is that so? Look at you now. The effect of reverse blood fusion is gone, and you're seriously injured. You can't even stand up. I'm afraid that you'll die if I don't do anything. How are you going to protect her? Senior Grand Elder's eyes were wide open. He supported himself with his Einherjar scythe and stood up trembling. Hachibi, do you think the battle between us is over? You're too naive. Don't force yourself. What else can you do now? Senior Grand Elder threw away his Einherjar scythe. He tore open his clothes, revealing his upper body full of scars. He smiled cruelly. Don't you know what will happen to me? Hachibi suddenly froze. He didn't even want his weapon. In this situation, it was very easy to think of a situation. Spiritual core explosion. An Earth Elementalist's spiritual core explosion. Hachibi's gaze gradually became serious. He coldly looked at Senior Grand Elder. Even if you use your spiritual core to explode, you can only force me to use my 7th transformation. You'll be doomed eternally. Senior Grand Elder laughed. So what if I'm doomed eternally? In life, there are always some things that you'll protect at all costs. We're originally made of the dust of the universe. In the end, ashes to ashes and dust to dust. This is our final destination. Hachibi, to be honest, if I'm not a guardian, if I'm still that young man who pursues martial arts wholeheartedly, you won't be my opponent. Senior Grand Elder revealed a confident smile. He slightly raised his chin and looked at Hachibi with a smile that wasn't a smile. At this time, Hachibi was facing a formidable enemy and had no time to refute. I don't believe that you'll really use your spiritual core to explode. Is that so? Then you can bet on it. On the contrary, dragon-type magical beasts like you will have to pay a price for your death. Cut the crap. So what if I use my 7th transformation? You'll completely die, but I'll be able to recover after some time. Besides, I'll definitely not let the snow saintess awaken the ice god. Hachibi finally thought it through. Come, Senior Grand Elder. Even if you die, I'll treat your master well. After saying that, Hachibi pounced at Senior Grand Elder with extreme speed. The explosion of an Earth Elementalist's spiritual core would probably destroy half of the snow mountain. Hachibi's move was probably to use his life to protect the snow mountain. Senior Grand Elder was nearing the end of his life. He had already ignored Hachibi's pouncing attack. He turned his head and looked in the direction that Snow had left. Snow's smile flashed across his mind. Snow, you must live on and complete your mission. This old servant can't protect you anymore. Spiritual core. From before Senior Grand Elder's voice died away, suddenly, two figures appeared not far away. Seeing these two people, Senior Grand Elder forcefully swallowed back the word, explode. Not only that, but he also spat out a mouthful of blood. That was because he was angry. The two people who came were none other than Lu Qin and Snow. If he were to self-destruct now, Snow would probably suffer a calamity. However, he had fought so hard to buy some time for Snow. In the end, this girl ran back. And that cannon fodder? Wasn't he thrown away long ago? Why was he here? Did he chase after them for 20,000 cash withdrawal scrolls? That was too much of a risk. At this moment, the two people had clearly seen the battle here. War God possession, devil transformation, divine demon symbiosis. Triple door. I'm all ears. In the blink of an eye, the ordinary-looking young man suddenly changed his appearance. With a red robe and a head of long white hair, his appearance was off the chart. Suddenly, a stone door appeared beside Senior Grand Elder. Then, a strong pulling force came from the door and directly pulled him through the door. In the next moment, he was already beside Lu Qin. You! Senior Grand Elder didn't know what to say for a moment. His chi and blood attacked his heart, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Little Green, see if he can be saved, Lu Qin said indifferently. A green-clothed person appeared beside Senior Grand Elder and checked his injuries. In order to ensure Little Green's safety, Lu Qin didn't forget to summon Little Green, so that the two people wouldn't plot against him and harm Little Green. Who are you? On the opposite side, Hachibi coldly looked at Lu Qin. Lu Qin walked up step by step and said indifferently, I'm your tribulation. Chapter 784. When Hachibi saw the badge on Lu Qin's chest, it suddenly laughed wildly. 5-star. Rogue cultivator? Ha 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 ha. Looking at your aura, I thought you were some great master, but it turns out you're just a 5-star cultivator? This is really funny, ha 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 ha. I've seen a lot of arrogant guys, but this is the first time I've seen someone as ignorant as you. This is really an eye-opener. Lu Qin still walked towards Hachibi step by step. At the same time, he activated Mixed Element Attack Conversion, Flash Shot, Rapid Attack, Death Trap, Dragon Blood Boiling, 3 Lives Reincarnation. Hachibi's laughter suddenly stopped, and it narrowed its eyes slightly. You didn't use soul-body fusion? Lu Qin smiled slightly. I didn't plan to use it. No matter how much Hachibi mocked Lu Qin not using soul-body fusion was definitely the biggest insult to Hachibi, so much so that Hachibi had to remind Lu Qin if he forgot. Not far away, Taishu spat out another mouthful of blood. This kid, there's really something wrong with his brain. Schwerer, go, don't worry about me. Schwerer stared at Lu Qin's back in disbelief. A mere 5-star cultivator was going up against a 6 Revolution 8-tailed beast. That was already an incredible feat, yet that guy still hadn't used soul body as one? This guy's arrogance had reached an incomprehensible level. Originally, the handsome transformation just now had caused people to have some fantasies, but now this fantasy had been shattered by this reckless decision. No wonder Taishu spat out another mouthful of blood. Taking a step back, if you can fight Hachibi without using soul-body fusion, wouldn't it be more stable if you use it? However, that kid didn't use soul-body fusion. What else could it be if he wasn't crazy? Forget it, he can't hold on for long. Taishu sighed. Shwe shouldn't have come back, but the truth was the truth, and it was useless to say anything. Shwe, I can't send you to Snow Mountain City. Hachibi won't be merciful to us, it's better to die now. Lui couldn't help but speak up when she heard the two of them looking down on her boss. Her voice was a little agitated. You guys always talk about boss, but you don't know what kind of burden he's shouldering. How could he not know that the soul-body unification technique would greatly increase his strength? How could he not know that the Hachibi was not easy to deal with? The reason why he chose to fight with his true body is because his future opponents are beyond your imagination. Do you want to die? Lui sneered. Do you want to waste all of boss's efforts? When you left the camp, did you know where the boss was? He lured away 8th transformation Swan and I, and in order to avoid attracting even more magical beasts, he fought the 8 Swan and I to the death. But when you returned to the camp, you abandoned him. In order to catch up to you, he hasn't slept a wink. Your 20,000 cash withdrawal coupons were really worth it. If I were the boss, I would have left long ago. Louis's words scolded the grand uncle and Shwe. Both of them were shocked. Wasn't he running away? Was he fighting 8th transformation Swan and I alone? 8th transformation Swan and I. Then he had been tracking their whereabouts and arrived in time. None of this was a coincidence. There was no such thing as a peaceful life, but someone was silently moving forward. Old man, although your injury is serious, it's not fatal. Lui said snappily. I don't have any herbs here. I want to watch our bosses battle. After saying that, Lui willfully stood aside and turned to look at the battlefield. Boss had always been like this. He was too lazy to explain and didn't want others to feel that they owed him anything. He always shouldered these things alone. But what he didn't know was that if he was always like this, the people around him would feel sorry for him. Even Lui, who had a good temper, couldn't help but get angry. On the battlefield, that man was already standing in front of the 8-tailed beast without using the soul-body unification technique. Boss, please, you must win. Lui prayed silently. At this moment, Lu Chen's behavior had obviously angered the 8-tailed beast. Very good, you're very arrogant. I have never seen such an arrogant guy like you. You want to fight me without using the soul-body unification technique? Good, very good. Then I'll let you have no time to regret. Thousand Fox Phantom, Heart Eater. It was the same skill, but the 8-tailed beast was in the 5th transformation state before. Now, the 8-tailed beast was in the 6th transformation state. The power of the skill and the speed of the illusion had increased by a level. Streaks of snowfox afterimages shot towards Lu Chen in a frenzy. Their speed was as fast as lightning. So fast. The Grand Elder's eyes widened. The 8-tailed beast's move was much stronger than the one he used against him. At the same time, it was this move that caused his old injury to relapse. It could be seen that the power of this move was extremely great. Using this move against a 5-star cultivator was simply making a mountain out of a molehill. It was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. At this moment, Lu Chen's red figure was like a cluster of blooming ink, instantly pulling away from the 8-tailed beast. Ghostly shadows. Tiger descends the mountain. Suppressive fire. Using the ghostly shadows to descend, Lu Chen quickly changed his position so that he wouldn't be targeted by the Thousand Fox Phantom. At the same time, when he changed his position, he quickly used 50 consecutive spiritual energy space cannon. 30,000 spiritual energy and 800 times skill damage coefficient. The current spiritual energy space cannon had a basic attack power of 24 million. Once it was a critical hit, it could reach 75 million damage. One shot of the spiritual energy space cannon could penetrate 3 demon fox illusions at the same time. Used for suppressive damage, the collision of skills didn't form a spiritual energy ball, but the violent explosion had already caused the entire snow mountain to rumble. Impossible! How can his attack power be so high? Shui-Er's eyes widened, her face full of disbelief. The Grand Elder narrowed his eyes slightly. The horror of the 1,000 fox phantom lies in the continuous impact of the illusions, causing continuous pressure. He's using his agile body to disperse the 1,000 fox phantom's attack. Although his speed isn't as fast as the Eight Tails, the ghostly shadows provide a large number of landing points. Using these landing points, he widens the range of his movement so that the 1,000 fox phantom can't concentrate on one point, greatly reducing the threat of this move. Then, he uses long-range attacks to neutralize the illusions that threaten him. It's just that his spiritual energy cannons are too powerful. How can he fire 50 spiritual energy cannons at once? Also, does the ice field domain not restrict his displacement skills? As strong as the Eight Tails was, it naturally had a strong domain skill. However, for Lu Chen, the so-called restriction of displacement had no effect at all. He had already used the mixed Yuan spirit pill. As soon as the two sides exchanged blows, they used killing moves. In a short exchange, a large part of the battlefield had been razed to the ground. You have some skills. It seems that you've been hiding your strength. The Eight Tails couldn't help but frown. A normal 5-star cultivator who hadn't activated soul body as one should only be able to scratch an itch. However, this person's attack had directly destroyed the spiritual power illusions of the 1,000 fox phantom. One cannonball could penetrate 3 illusions. This eyesight, fine control, and attack power all proved that the human in front of him was not in a hurry to lose confidence. Interesting. Then, try this move. The Eight Tails sneered. However, before it could make a move, the red shadow had already descended on one of the ghostly shadows under its feet. I don't have time to play with you. Hurry up and use your 8 transformation. Let me see how strong the so-called 7 magical beast generals are. Universal annihilation, a sky shaking. Chapter 785. So fast. Grand Uncle's eyes widened. I can't believe that a 5-star cultivator's body can have such an amazing attack power. Not only that, but the battle is also smooth. He actually took the initiative to attack first. Shui-Er looked at the red figure on the field in disbelief. 5-star cultivator. Grand Uncle, how can he be so strong? I feel that if I use the soul-body unification, I won't have any advantage in front of him. Grand Uncle said, the difference between the body and the soul-body unification is mainly in the attributes of HP, defense, attack, and speed, but this isn't the biggest difference. What's the biggest difference? Grand Uncle said, the biggest difference is the psychological change. Before the 4th heaven, we are all cultivating our battle souls. At that time, most people don't know this. We go through battles with our battle souls. In the 3rd or 4th heaven, many battles are even life and death. We think that we are the battle souls, and the battle souls are us. But when we reach the 5th heaven, when we are separated from the battle souls, almost everyone will have a sense of loss. We are no longer the battle souls with heaven-defying attribute. We have to start from scratch and accumulate the strength of the body little by little. In fact, we have been relying too much on the battle souls. One thing can be proven. When we have the soul-body unification, we have more confidence. When we don't, we have to be cautious. This psychological change is the biggest difference between the soul-body unification and the battle of the body. Shui-Er nodded. This was the most common situation in the 5th heaven. With the soul-body unification, one was the boss. Without it, one had to keep a low profile. But that young man has broken through this psychological shackle. Grand Uncle said, looking at this kid's battle, I have an illusion that he is the battle soul in the fifth heaven. Cultivation level is just a number for him. Perhaps the reduction of attributes is a challenge for him. At first, we all thought that he was cannon fodder, but we didn't know that he was the kind of person who was born to fight. On the battlefield, Hachibi's huge body had been knocked into the air. Lu Chen used the flickering effect of the heaven and earth annihilation to chase after Hachibi. Heaven and earth annihilation to cancel the effect of the back attack. Fierce tiger descends the mountain, fire suppression. He immediately cancelled the skill and switched it to fire suppression. The 50 spiritual energy space cannon blasted towards the eight-tailed snow fox. Outside the snowy mountain, a few caravans were taking a detour. But at this moment, they saw a sudden burst of fire in the sky near the peak of the snowy mountain, turning the sky red. Boom, 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 boom. The snow mountain shook and collapsed. No way, another avalanche. Could it be that there's an expert fighting with that person on the mountain? That's right, but I can't figure out who would be so stupid as to fight the 7 magical beast generals. They have 8 lives and they can revive once. They are even stronger than before. They can even exhaust you to death. It's rare to see an earth elementalist in Jinan City, so he won't venture into the snowy mountains. What a terrifying attack. We can feel the aftermath of the spiritual energy even from here. Forget it, let's leave quickly. The foot of the mountain isn't safe either. Schwer protected the Grand Elder, while the little furball transformed into a huge boy and held Louis in his arms. Schwer was shocked to find that the little white mouse had suddenly become so big. Fortunately, the little furball glanced at her and only licked its lips cutely. Of course, if Schwer really knew about the little furball, she would probably break out in cold sweat when she saw it licking its lips. The 50 spiritual energy space cannon blasted the 8-tailed snow fox. It was directly blasted into a bloody mess. When it fell from the sky, it fell heavily to the ground. The Grand Elder was so shocked that he couldn't be more shocked. Who is this guy? How can the damage of a physical attack be so high? Kid, don't be careless. It will reach the 7th transformation soon. Lu Chen looked back at the Grand Elder. Fortunately, that guy was still alive. Otherwise, he might only get half of the reward. The mission said to escort 2 people across the snowy mountain. Lu Chen wasn't stupid. After encountering the 5 transformation Swanee, he already knew that the 8-tailed snow fox might reach the 8th transformation. Killing the 8-tailed snow fox was just the beginning of the battle. He stared at the 8-tailed snow fox. His stamina was not satisfied with the continuous journey. He had just used a lot of firepower to suppress it twice. The 8-tailed snow fox still had the 7th and 8th transformation. If this continued, his stamina would be a big problem. The 8-tailed snow fox in front of him began to revive. Its body began to recover quickly. Not long after, an even bigger snow fox was reborn. 7 transformation 8-tailed snow fox. Its eyes became as deep as the stars, but the anger in its eyes could no longer be suppressed. It was killed by a 5-star cultivator. Moreover, it was killed in its physical state. This was absolutely intolerable. Kid, I will tear you into pieces. Lu Chen's eyes were cold. He suddenly attacked. Tiger descends the mountain. Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Sacred Lotus Sword Heart was Lu Chen's strongest killing move. When the 8-tailed snow fox was reborn, Lu Chen suddenly attacked and used his last Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. The infinite celestial demon sword crazily shot out continuous sword energy. 1080 swords came, covering the sky and covering the earth. Before the 8-tailed snow fox could get angry, it had to face the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Strengthened Sky Fox swallows the sun. However, the spiritual energy beam from the snow fox's mouth could not stop the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. After destroying 1/5 of the sword energy, the remaining Sacred Lotus Sword Heart was like a runaway wild horse, drowning the eight-tailed snow fox in an instant. Lu Chen did not look at the scene behind because there was no need to. Even the eight-tailed snow fox could not withstand the sacred lotus sword heart. He turned around and saw the shocked eyes of the Grand Elder and Shui. That's right. Anyone who saw Lu Chen's sacred lotus sword heart would have such an expression. The sacred lotus sword heart, which originally only had 108 swords, was originally one of the two major skills of the divine demon lotus sword heart. Its power was already very terrifying. In the end, Lu Chen increased the damage by tenfold. You. After stuttering for a long time, Shui could not finish her sentence. You actually defeated the eight-tailed snow fox in an instant? The Grand Elder continued. Lu Chen's face did not show any joy. He only said indifferently, Little furball, take them out of here first. Next, the eight-tailed snow fox has one last turn. The last turn was the eight-tailed snow fox's strongest state, and Lu Chen's sacred lotus sword heart had no more uses. In order to defeat the eight-tailed snow fox, Lu Chen did not have many options left. Boss, you want to use that move? Lu Yi looked nervously at Lu Chen. Lu Chen took a deep breath. The eight-tailed snow fox's attack speed is too fast. If I want to get close, it will be very dangerous. I have to be faster. Don't worry, I will control myself. Lu Chen smiled at Lu Yi. Hey you, why don't you use soul body as one? It's already the last turn. Shui suddenly shouted. She could also tell that this guy was forced to use his ultimate move. And this kind of skill that made his companions worried was very likely a skill similar to reverse blood return. Lu Chen slightly narrowed his eyes. My soul body as one is only left for one person. Before I see it again, I will not use it. Chapter 786. The final form of the eight-tailed snow fox had finally appeared. The snow fox's snow-white fur billowed in the storm. Uncontrollable spiritual energy gushed out, and its huge tail was like a restless python. Its eyes were as hot as magma, and they were slowly emitting mist. Without a doubt, the two insta-kills had thoroughly angered the owner of the Snow Mountain, one of the 7 magical beast generals, the eight-tailed snow fox. You have angered me. I will burn your soul to ashes. The eight-tailed snow fox's voice no longer sounded like a human's voice. It sounded like it came from hell. The Grand Elder looked at the eight-tailed snow fox nervously. 8th transformation. This is the eight-tailed snow fox's true strength. Even an earth cultivator is no match for it. Boy, can you still win? Lu Chen looked at the eight-tailed snow fox coldly. The rebirth this time had pushed the eight-tailed snow fox's strength to the peak. It was impossible to kill it easily. Facing the Grand Elder's question, Lu Chen did not answer directly. He only said faintly, I can't lose. Shui looked at the back of the red figure in surprise. He can't lose. It meant that he was not sure if he could win. But there was a reason why he could not retreat. Shui, who was shouldering a heavy responsibility, suddenly understood. That inconspicuous man had the same situation as her. He also shouldered a heavy burden that required him to defeat the eight-tailed snow fox. They were the same kind of people. The infinite celestial demon's sword trembled slightly. The strong enemy made it excited. Lu Chen's eyes gradually burned. Locking onto the eight-tailed snow fox, the corner of Lu Chen's mouth raised, revealing an evil smile. 8th transformation? This is your last life. I don't think you will be so careless. Yes, it did not matter if the eight-tailed snow fox was careless because it was not its last chance. However, it was different now. This was its strongest and also its last life. It would not underestimate this insignificant 5-star cultivator. Since this is your strongest state, then you have the right to witness my strongest state. Lu Chen took a deep breath. At the same time, the eight-tailed snow fox had already charged towards Lu Chen. It would not make any mistakes and would not give Lu Chen any chance. The speed of the Hachibi was like a flickering displacement. In the blink of an eye, he was about to reach Lu Chen. Die! Black ice sky-splitting claw. At this moment, Lu Chen angrily shouted, "Demonic lotus heart, inner demon!" With a loud bang, the powerful spiritual energy of the bewitched Hachibi was released. To be safe, Hachibi gave up on attacking and dodged away. The eyes of the white-haired man in front of him had turned red, and his body was no longer as straight as before. His back was severely bent, and his head was lowered. His hair was messy in front of him, but from his hair, one could see his blood-red eyes and ferocious face. He opened his mouth and breathed out a large amount of steam. Everyone present, except for Louis, was incomparably shocked. What form is this? It feels like he's become a completely different person. What a terrifying feeling! Louis was so nervous that she was tugging on the little furball's fur. Boss still used this move after all. Inner demon. After entering the demonic state, the power of the inner demon would be released. All attributes would be increased by 100%, attack would be increased by 100%, and the attack would enter the berserk state. Attack speed and movement speed would be increased by 200%, and skill casting speed would be increased by 200%. At the same time, the damage received would be increased by 500%. In the state of the inner demon, the physical body would be highly strengthened and the damage to the physical body would be reduced by 80%. However, in the state of the inner demon, the user would enter the inner demon state and lose 5% of their ability to control their thoughts every second. If they stayed in this state for a long time, they would permanently lose their nature. After upgrading the Hunyuan cultivation technique, the inner demon would enter the second form and the additional damage would be reduced to 100%. In other words, the user would receive double damage and lose 1% of their ability to control their thoughts every second. Boss had once tried to use the inner demon state to farm in the wild. He only lasted for a few seconds before he almost lost his mind. Although the second form of the inner demon reduced the speed of losing one's thoughts by 5 times, Hachibi was not those wild monsters. This was the first time Boss used the inner demon in an actual battle. The degree of danger could be imagined. 20 seconds, Boss, you must finish the battle in 20 seconds. Louis kept praying. Lu Chen raised his head and roared. He was completely different from his previously calm white-haired form. At this time, he began to go berserk. Hachibi, I'm going to kill you. In an instant, Lu Chen had already pounced on Hachibi. Don't be arrogant. It just so happens that I want to kill you too. Hachibi's aura was not inferior. He was fearless and rushed toward Lu Chen. Lu Chen, who was in the state of the inner demon, lotus heart of the celestial demon, and Hachibi, who was in their strongest form, began a head-on collision at this moment. Buddha body doppelganger, void-shattering triple attack. The 3 bodies of Lu Chen punched at the same time. Their punches shattered the void. Hachibi amplification, level 8 strengthening, dark ice sky-splitting claw. The 2 earth-shattering skills collided directly in midair. With a boom, the peak of the snowy mountain shook violently and the mountain shook violently. The surging spiritual energy tumbled and dissipated, quickly forming a huge spiritual energy ball. It continued to expand, and its diameter instantly exceeded 100 meters. The pedestrians in the distance looked in the direction of the snowy mountain in shock. From afar, a new sun suddenly appeared on the peak of the snowy mountain, like a disk on the mountain peak. What is that? What happened to the snowy mountain? It's a spiritual energy ball. It's a phenomenon of spiritual energy dissipation that only occurs when explosive skills collide. But if we can see it from here, how terrifying is that spiritual energy ball? What kind of damage can form such a terrifying spiritual energy ball? Could it be that someone is fighting with the one on the snowy mountain? After 3 seconds, the spiritual energy ball's diameter exceeded 200 meters. In the end, it couldn't withstand any more spiritual energy and exploded instantly. For a moment, a violent storm rose and snowflakes filled the whole world. Taishu. Shui-er's eyes widened. The spiritual energy ball's explosion had already caused such a terrifying power. She had to grab Taishu with all her strength. Otherwise, Taishu would be swept away directly. At that moment, a huge figure blocked the two of them. Shui-er looked up and saw that it was the strange large rat. Furry used one hand to block the aftermath of the spiritual energy and the other to protect Lui in his arms. He used his body to block Shui-er and Taishu. That's boss's 20,000 cash withdrawal ticket. I can't let it be swept away, however. After such a violent collision, the two figures on the battlefield thought that the winner and loser had been decided. The two of them separated at an extremely fast speed, but both of them charged at each other again at an extremely fast speed. They collided again. Tiger descends the mountain. Suppressive fire. The Eight Tails phantoms turned into violent snow foxes and pounced on Lu Chen one after another. Strengthened Thousand Fox Phantom. Time and time again, the explosions on the snowy mountain echoed in the area. A middle-aged man looked up at the snowy mountain with a cold gaze. On his chest, the 6-star Earth Cultivation Badge was particularly eye-catching. 8 Tails. It's the 8-tailed beast's 8th transformation. Even I don't dare to face it head-on. Who exactly is fighting an 8-tailed beast? Chapter 787. Absolute Diamond Ice Seal. Suddenly, the ground on the battlefield froze rapidly. The ice seemed to be alive as it spread wildly in all directions. The whole world seemed to be frozen by the ice. The Hachibi's ice control was stronger and faster than Frost Silk. In the blink of an eye, the entire snowy mountain peak had been frozen into ice. From afar, the peak of the snowy mountain looked like a beautifully cut diamond. Oh my God, the snowy mountain is frozen? More and more people stopped to watch the changes on the snowy mountain. It must be the Hachibi, it must be the Hachibi. Only it can do this. This is not a level that can be achieved by humans. The people around were discussing, but the 5-star Earth Cultivator only frowned. It's the Hachibi's Diamond Ice Seal. To be able to force the Hachibi to use this move, the strength of the Earth Cultivator team is quite strong. The one fighting the Hachibi was not the Earth Cultivator team, but only Lu Chen. The surroundings had become a world of ice. From the ice mirror that cut the rules, Lu Chen could see countless of himself and countless Hachibi. In my Diamond Ice Seal, no matter how strong you are, you will die. The voice seemed to come from all directions and was difficult to understand. The battle had been going on for 10 seconds. Lu Chen's consciousness was getting harder and harder to focus. The murderous intent in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. If it was in the past, Lu Chen would probably save his energy and wait for an opportunity to strike. However, he could not care less now. He only wanted to kill. Chaos attack change. Tiger descends the mountain. Fire suppression. Attacking wildly, Lu Chen did not consider whether the Hachibi was the real one or the mirror's interference image. Everything he saw was his enemy. Die. Lu Chen roared and attacked all the Hachibi in his sight. Boom, 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 boom. The ice mirror that was as strong as a diamond was directly shattered by the chaos attack. Diamond Ice Seal was originally a powerful trapping and confusing skill. It was difficult to distinguish between the real and the fake with countless mirror images. The Hachibi was in an invincible position when it attacked. However, it encountered this lunatic who directly attacked the Absolute Ice Seal. This guy is using a chaos attack? The Hachibi was shocked. That was an attribute that could not be restrained, the origin of all elements. This guy is crazy. How much spiritual energy does he have? Spirit Energy Storm. Tiger descends the mountain. Suppressive fire. Round after round of crazy attacks, The solid ice was blasted into smithereens, leaving behind only pieces of ice. Time continued to pass. Lu Chen had already been in his inner demon for 18 seconds. He was only 2 seconds away from the 20-second time limit he had set. Break. After 3 rounds of suppressive fire, Lu Chen bombarded the frozen mountain. A row of spiritual force cannonballs exploded in a flash. The diamond ice seal was directly shattered. The shaking of the snow mountain was getting more and more intense. The diamond-like mountain peak was actually shattered by someone. From afar, people could see countless chunks of ice falling from the top of the mountain, and the ground beneath their feet was shaking. Oh my God, the diamond ice seal was forcefully broken? This. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with shock. He could already imagine that an incomparably fierce battle was erupting at the peak of the snowy mountain. 20 seconds, the inner demon's duration ended. However, Lu Chen, who had just exited the inner demon state, quickly lifted the 20-second time limit. Back then, Lu Chen was afraid that he would be in the inner demon state for too long and could not control himself, so he set a 20-second time limit. However, he also considered that under certain special circumstances, if the battle could not be resolved within 20 seconds, as long as he exited the inner demon state and reactivated it, he could extend the duration of the inner demon state. Exiting the inner demon state and re-entering the inner demon state meant that he still retained his rationality at that time. However, after re-entering the inner demon state, the final outcome would be unpredictable. "Boss, you can't undo it," Lu Yi shouted. However, the battle would not end until Hachibi was killed. Lu Chen's eyes were getting redder and redder. His consciousness was gradually being crazily devoured. 20% of his control over his thoughts was lost, but Lu Chen still retained a trace of rationality. He had to end the battle as soon as possible. Unlimited suppressive fire. Lu Chen seemed to have gone crazy. The fire god gun's muzzle madly shot out psionic spatial cannon. Absolute diamond shield. Thousand Fox Phantom, a beast tide. Hachibi shouted angrily. "You think I'm afraid of you? Kill them!" Countless demonic beasts rushed out from behind Hachibi like a magnificent army. Is it a summoning skill or an illusion attack? Shui-Er's eyes widened. She did not expect Hachibi to have such a move. It's an illusion attack, but the principle is the same as Heart Eaters. The illusion is formed by spiritual energy, and after the illusion attacks, it will cause a spiritual energy explosion. However, the range is so large and the number is so large that it has far exceeded Heart Eaters. These two guys have already fallen into madness, the Grand Elder said worriedly. Perhaps the one who is crazier will win. Facing the incoming beast tide, Lu Chen summoned the world-destroying 9 dragons. The 9 dragons rushed towards the beast tide and exploded countless times, rumbling loudly. After the illusion was destroyed, it turned into ice mist. The two skills collided like two armies fighting, and the scene was almost out of control. Hachibi had learned its lesson and did not give Lu Chen a chance to get close. It seemed to see that Lu Chen's state was getting crazier and crazier. As long as it blocked his attack, perhaps it did not need to do anything as Lu Chen would fall into madness. Lu Chen's firepower suppression could not gain an advantage in the battle with Hachibi. Moreover, after Hachibi's 8th transformation, not only did its skills become more powerful, but they were also more varied. Coupled with its terrifying movement speed, it was even more difficult to get close. Hachibi's 8th transformation state was unimaginably terrifying. Heart Demon state, 30 seconds. Boss, use soul-body fusion. I beg you. Lu Yi was already burning with anxiety. Every second that passed was more dangerous for Lu Chen. And now that Boss was gradually losing his mind, it was getting harder and harder for him to come up with a countermeasure. Only by using soul-body fusion could he have a chance of winning. Grand Uncle also saw that Lu Chen's situation was not right. Although the two were evenly matched as time passed, that Brat would definitely lose. Brat, why don't you use soul-body fusion? Why are you still so stubborn at this time? All of you, shut up! Lu Chen roared. Lu Yi was stunned. She seemed to have forgotten that Boss's stubbornness had always been his specialty. No matter how strong Hachibi was, it was only one of the 7 magical beast generals. As for his destined opponent, the Fiend God Sovereign, its terror was unimaginable to the average person. To be precise, it was unimaginable for Lu Chen. If he could not even defeat the 7 magical beast generals, how could he defeat that existence? To go to the 6th heaven, he had to defeat Demon God Supreme. And going to the higher heaven domain was something that Boss had always insisted on. No matter what the road ahead was, no matter what he had to face, he had to go. Boss! Lu Yi's tears blurred her eyes. She no longer hoped that Boss would stop entering the heart demon state. She only prayed for one thing. Survive. I beg you. Survive. Lowering her head, Lu Yi no longer looked at the battlefield. She only prayed silently, again and again. Chapter 788. Triple Door. I'm all ears. You're still using this trick? Sorry, it's useless against me. Thousand Fox Phantom, substitute. Lu Chen had only pulled an illusion over. If he hadn't dodged quickly, the explosion of the illusion would have been fatal. Hachibi's speed, attack, and defense were all outstanding. It had been preventing Lu Chen from getting close to it, relying on the large number of attacks of Thousand Fox Phantom and the defense of Diamond Shield to defend itself. Hachibi's thoughts were also very clear. As long as it continued to resist Lu Chen's crazy attacks, Lu Chen would definitely lose. However, although Lu Chen was becoming more and more crazy, his attacks were still strategic. He pulled and pulled from a distance, constantly looking for opportunities to get close. Unbelievable, I can clearly feel that his consciousness is becoming more and more blurred, but why is his attack still not chaotic? Taishu's eyes widened. He had a skill called Reverse Blood Fusion. When he activated this skill, he would explode all the potential of his body, feeling like he could beat a master to death with random punches. It was effective against 5 Transformation Stage 8 Tails, but against 8 Transformation Stage 8 Tails, it was tantamount to courting death. In front of an expert, attacking randomly would only cause one to die faster. That kid's divine demon Lotus Heart, inner demon, should have a similar feeling, but it only showed that his attack speed had increased, and his attacks had become reckless, but he still hadn't made any rash moves. Schwer frowned. Perhaps his inner demon state is different from your reverse blood return together, Grand Uncle. No. Even if it's different, the inner demon state's influence on the mind is stronger than reverse blood fusion, Taishu said with certainty. Look at his eyes, that bloodthirst and madness is completely different from his previous calmness, and as time passes, it's still intensifying. Then, is it his willpower? Willpower is important, but he's still desperately restraining himself. But there's something more important than willpower. What is it? Memory, Taishu said. Combat memory formed by a lot of actual combat experience. The way of fighting has been integrated into his blood. Even if he's completely crazy, he still remembers how to fight. Fighting has become his instinct. This. Schwer was stunned. Just how many life and death battles did that guy go through to be able to turn fighting into his instinct? A mere 5-star cultivator. Suddenly Schwer recalled something. That fellow wasn't a cultivator but a wild cultivator. He didn't belong to any sect, nor did he have any backing. From the 1st heavenly layer to the 4th heavenly layer, he must have walked alone. Normally, people would feel that the strength of a rogue cultivator was inferior to that of a normal cultivator. Within the sect, there were many ways to increase one's strength, while rogue cultivators could only rely on themselves. That was why rogue cultivators were so rare. But that person was different. He didn't join a sect because he was used to fighting alone. I can't believe it. What kind of lunatic did we recruit? The Grand Elder sighed. To think that we thought he would be cannon fodder at the beginning. And he is using his life to fulfill his promise. In fact, Lu Chen wasn't really protecting them with his life, but naturally, no one would tell Grand Uncle the truth. The battle had already lasted for 50 seconds, and Louis's hopes were dwindling as time passed. When madness takes over, can boss return to normal? No one could be sure. But one thing was for sure. Lu Chen had fallen into a passive state. His stamina was completely exhausted. If you don't use your war soul, your stamina won't be able to keep up with your consumption. Hachibi's eyes were filled with joy. Finally enough. Then go to hell. Thousand Fox Phantom, a perfect cut. Hachibi finally had a chance to counterattack. With a roar, his figure split into 8, surrounding Lu Chen in the middle. 8 illusions shot toward Lu Chen. Lu Chen's whole body trembled and his eyes turned red. But the feeling of powerlessness made him unable to continue using his skills. Blood sacrifice shield. Inadvertently, Louis looked at Little Furball. At this time, Little Furball was particularly quiet. The violent fluctuations of spiritual energy from the battlefield blew up its fur. Other than protecting itself and the 2 people behind it, it was completely still. Little Furball. Louis had never seen Little Furball like this. She could feel the muscles on Little Furball's body tense up. She still remembered a long time ago, when they first met, Lu Chen waited for a few days for this little guy to steal herbs. At that time, Lu Chen didn't spend too much effort to catch Little Furball. He called it Little Furball, and it always liked to lie on Lu Chen's shoulder. In a flash, several years had passed. They had become the closest of partners. But why didn't Boss call for it in such a life and death situation? It was also a part of Boss's battle strength. Roar! Suddenly, Little Furball roared at Lu Chen. This roar woke up the person who had fallen into madness on the battlefield. His eyes trembled as he glanced over at them. In the end, he still couldn't break through Hachibi's seal. His strength still didn't have the ability to kill the 7 magical beast generals. Lu Chen's face became more and more ferocious. The inner demon state had lasted for too long. If he didn't get rid of it now, the consequences would be unimaginable. Suddenly, Lu Chen roared, "Little Furball!" In the blink of an eye, Louis found that Little Furball had put her on the ground. She turned her head and saw Little Furball had turned into a white light and shot toward Hachibi. Roar! With a roar, Little Furball entered the state of soul-body fusion. It pounced on Lu Chen crazily. 8 illusions flashed by, and the space seemed to be cut apart by 4 invisible lines. However, Lu Chen's figure was no longer on the battlefield. Little Furball held Lu Chen and slowly put him on the ground. Then, it turned to look at Hachibi. Roar! Little Furball roared and pounced on Hachibi without any explanation. Hachibi frowned as it looked at this big guy that was moving fast. As one of the 7 magical beast generals, it was not afraid of any battle pet at all. Even a mythical beast would only be in the state of a soul battle pet, while Hachibi was in its original state. The difference between the 2 was obvious. However, facing this common battle pet, Hachibi could not help but widen its eyes. Wait, that guy didn't use soul-body fusion. How can he summon a battle pet? Impossible. This guy is a god-slaying rat. As something that only existed in legends, Little Furball had many names, such as Sky-Swallowing Rat, God-Slaying Rat. Hachibi's eyes twitched when it found out Little Furball's true identity. Why does that guy have such a battle pet? In the blink of an eye, the Hachibi had already launched several attacks. The Furball had thick skin and high defense. In the state of soul-body fusion, the Furball still retained a quarter of its health even after taking a few attacks. Is this guy crazy? It's not dodging the skills. Hachibi was frightened. Hachibi was about to dodge when Little Furball suddenly stretched its body. After stretching its body, the distance between Hachibi and Hachibi was shortened. One of Little Furball's claws was already hanging on Hachibi's body. A horrifying thought arose in Hachibi's mind. It's over. Chapter 789. Heavy injury, bleeding, health points, increased physical damage, and all sorts of negative statuses took effect when the claws touched it. Get out of my way. Diamond shield. However, the shield was useless against the enraged Little Furball. The Furball pounced on the Hachibi's body and opened its mouth to bite it. The powerful Hachibi's back was badly mutilated, and a piece of fur was bitten off. 2 stacks of abnormal statuses were stacked. The Furball's attacks had always been simple and violent, but the Hachibi was not a kind master. Without strength, it could not have become one of the 7 magical beast generals. Damn it, Thousand Fox Phantom, substitute. The Hachibi quickly retreated, leaving behind an illusion that exploded. The Furball could not dodge in time and was blown away by the spiritual energy explosion. However, the Hachibi's real body was still bleeding, and the bleeding would be converted into the Furball's health points. This was the most terrifying part about the Furball. As long as the opponent was bleeding, it would constantly recover its health points. Coupled with its high defense, it was extremely difficult to kill. Unless it was attacked continuously and could not recover its health points in time. After getting rid of the Furball, the Hachibi did not have time to catch its breath before the Furball pounced on it again. So what if you're a god-slaying rat? You're just a god-slaying rat that hasn't fully awakened. You want to eat me? Dream on. The Hachibi shouted angrily. Thousand Fox Phantom, heart-eating. Let's see if you can survive this. At this moment, a large number of spiritual energy cannons were fired from nearby. Tiger descends the mountain. Suppressive fire. Lu Chen did not exit the inner demon state immediately. With his last bit of strength, he used suppressive fire. The suppressive fire collided with a large number of illusions, causing countless explosions. The Furball's figure moved rapidly outside the explosion circle. The Hachibi could not move at this time, so this was the last chance to kill it. Boss, the Furball. Lui was so nervous that she could not breathe. Reality had proven that praying was useless. Only by relying on the 2 on the field could they reverse the situation. The Grand Elder and Shui were stunned. They naturally knew that this was the last chance. After using the last move, Lu Chen fell to the ground and could not get up. Only the Furball was moving quickly in the dense explosion. Roar! Amidst the massive spiritual energy fluctuations, a white figure leaped up and pounced on the Hachibi. Hachibi's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This guy actually passed through such a dense explosion. Damn it! The furry ball bit down on the Hachibi's neck. The 2 claws instantly left 2 deep bloody marks on the Hachibi's body. Another 2 stacks of debuffs. Get lost. Thousand Fox Phantom, a slice. The furry ball suddenly shrank and quickly rushed to the back of the Hachibi, avoiding the attack. Another mouthful. 5 stacks of bleed, 5 stacks of damage amplification, and 5 stacks of health conversion. The HP that the Little Furball had lost began to recover at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, it had already recovered a quarter of its HP. The Grand Elder's eyes widened. What kind of HP regeneration is this? Turn the enemy's HP into my own? That rat's skin is rough and its flesh is thick. Unless it's a heart eater, if you can't kill it with a single blow, you can only wait to be torn apart by it. After dodging the attack, the furry ball enlarged again and bit the Hachibi's forehead. Its sharp teeth penetrated the Hachibi's brain. Fatal bite. Hachibi's eyes instantly rolled up. Woo! The furry ball growled and shook its head vigorously. Although it did not directly crush the Hachibi's skull, it directly tore off a layer of the Hachibi's scalp. When Shui saw this bloody scene, she screamed and did not dare to look anymore. The originally elegant Hachibi snow fox had lost half of its face and the fur on the top of its head. Its body was covered in wounds, and its soft fur was stuck together by blood. The usage of Thousand Fox Phantom substitute had also run out, and the bleed effect on its body had already reached 6 stacks. The high-intensity battle with Lu Chern had already exhausted the Hachibi. Under the crazy attack of the furry ball, it finally could not hold on. Its body tilted and fell to the ground. Falling to the ground in front of the furry ball was not a good thing. The furry ball continued to bite the Hachibi, but this time, the Hachibi could no longer be reborn. The Hachibi could no longer care about the sharp pain that came from its body. The furry ball was biting and devouring its body, but it could no longer resist. This is the god-slaying rat, don't give it a chance. Otherwise it will eat even a god. Its eyes looked at the red figure that collapsed not far away. Who are you? Why is the god-slaying rat willing to recognize you as its master? But don't be complacent. Even if the ice god revives, you can't escape the fate of death. Our king is back. No one can escape. It's back. It will avenge me. You all have to die. Everyone. Lu Chern opened his eyes slightly and found the Taishu, Shuer, and Little Green surrounding him with a bonfire. It was already late and they should be camping somewhere. This time, the Taishu and the rest did not abandon him. When Lu Yi saw Lu Chern open his eyes, she asked nervously, "Boss, are you okay?" Lu Chern only felt a splitting headache. After carefully recalling, he remembered what happened before. "I'm okay. Where's the furry ball?" Lu Chern struggled to sit up. "The furry ball is sleeping. I checked its condition. Its physical injuries from the battle have all recovered. It might have eaten the Hachibi to provide energy, but it seems to have eaten too much." Lu Chern was speechless, but following Lu Yi's gaze, he saw the furry ball sleeping soundly. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. The Taishu looked at Lu Chern and said softly, "This time, it's all thanks to you. Otherwise, young man, are you really okay? I mean, you looked a little scary at that time." Lu Chern shook his head. "I wasn't injured at that time. I was just exhausted. But fortunately, I had no strength at all. Otherwise, I might have killed all of you. At that time, I felt that I was a little out of control. I just thought that I must kill the Hachibi." The Taishu couldn't help but sigh. "Although I don't know the effect of the demon Lotus Heart, I can see that that state is too dangerous. You should try not to use it in the future." Lu Chern nodded, but then lowered his head and sighed. "Even in the state of the demon heart, I still couldn't kill the Hachibi. My strength is still not enough." The Taishu looked at Lu Chern in surprise. "Young man, you're asking too much of yourself. You're only a 5-star cultivator now. To be honest, I've never heard of you being able to fight to that extent with your original body." Lu Chern didn't explain too much. He had to be strict with himself. After all, his opponent was a terrifying existence. Shuer finally spoke. You're really strong. The Hachibi has been entrenched in the snow mountain for many years, and no one has been able to kill it." Lu Chern sighed. "This time, if it weren't for Harry Ball, I wouldn't have been able to kill it alone. The 7 magical beast generals are already so strong. There are also the 4 heavenly kings, and I'm still not strong enough. Let's set off early tomorrow and complete your mission. I need to earn more cash withdrawal coupons." The Taishu suddenly spoke. He seemed to have something to say but hesitated. "Young man, I misjudged you at the beginning. To be honest, I've never seen someone like you in the Jiutian. If you're willing, come with us to Snow Mountain City." "Snow Mountain City? Since I'm going, of course I have to go in and take a look," Lu Chern said. "No, the Snow Mountain City I'm talking about is not the current Snow Mountain City." The Taishu looked at Shuer and saw her nod at him. He continued, "I'm talking about the ancient Snow Mountain City. Chapter 790. There were 2 injured people in the team and a stuffed little furball, so they left a little late the next day. However, it didn't matter. After all, the 8 tails were dead. Normally, they still had plenty of time. For some reason, the little furball still looked very tired. Lu Chen asked it and found out that it needed a long time to digest the 8 tails. After all, the 8 tails was different from ordinary monsters. It was a demonic beast with a physical body, and it was very strong. When it swallowed the 8 tails, it seemed that the little furball also swallowed the 8-rank beast core. It wasn't a waste for the little furball to eat it, but it needed time to digest it. Lu Chen's body didn't have any major problems. He just had a headache, but it didn't affect the journey. On the other hand, Taishu seemed to be seriously injured. Lui used some pills. Although her life wasn't in danger, she couldn't move by herself. Lu Chen carried Taishu on his back and hurried with Shuer. "My name is Qian Qiushue. What about you?" Looking at Lu Chen's back, Shuer felt very guilty. They originally regarded him as cannon fodder and left without saying goodbye. It was he who saved the 2 of them. Perhaps this was repaying evil with good. Solipsistic. Lu Chen didn't care about the past and said, "Solipsistic is your war soul's ID?" "Yes." Shuer nodded. She said her real name, but he only said his war soul's ID. However, on second thought, Solipsistic was already very friendly to say his war soul's ID. Some people basically wouldn't say their real names. "That, I'm a little curious. Are you really determined not to use soul-body fusion until you die? How is that possible?" Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. "I'm not stupid. It's just that if I use soul-body fusion when I encounter a little difficulty, it's meaningless." Shuer looked at Lu Chen in surprise. This guy actually refused to use soul and body as one in such a desperate situation. Just how strong was his endurance? On the other hand, it also meant that this guy still had a way to save his life in that kind of situation. To be honest, Shuer really wanted to see Solipsistic's fighting soul. What kind of terrifying existence would his fighting soul be? As for his ultimate opponent, who was this guy that he valued so much? Shuer had too many questions in her heart. Unfortunately, these questions were too secretive, so Shuer knew better than to ask. "By the way, is the ancient Snow Mountain City you mentioned in the same place as the current Snow Mountain City?" Lu Chen asked. "No, the ancient Snow Mountain City is in the Snow Mountain." Lu Chen nodded. This also explained why Shuer and the others had to walk through the Snow Mountain and refused to take a detour. "I heard Hachibi mention something about the Ice God. Who is he? Is he a god?" Shuer lowered her head and said in a weak voice, "God is the honorific title we give him. There won't be a real god in the 5th heaven. There aren't even immortals here, so how can there be a god?" Lu Chen frowned slightly. There were no immortals in the 5th heaven. Mu Xian and the mountain man came from a higher heaven. To be able to meet someone like this, it could only be said that it was fate. The answer he was looking for must be in a higher heaven. "The ice god is the guardian of our Dongyu country," Shuer suddenly said. Lu Chen looked at Shuer in surprise, waiting for her to continue. "I don't know how many years ago, because it's been too long, so I can't be sure. But at least 3,000 years ago, there was a war between gods and demons in the 5th heaven. According to the ancient records, the 5th heaven was full of spiritual energy then. It's a completely different concept from now." Shuer's eyes were filled with longing, as if she had returned to the golden age of cultivation through the ancient records. At that time, the demonic beast army suddenly became restless. They came out of the demonic beast lair and swept across the continent. In the demonic beast army, there were the 7 demonic beast generals, the 4 heavenly kings, and the most terrifying demonic beast sovereign. They were extremely powerful, and wherever they went, corpses were strewn everywhere. At the moment of life and death, The 7 gods of war of the ancient 7 kingdoms were ordered to lead millions of cultivators and fight the demonic beast army on the demon slayer plains. The god of war of our Dongyu country was the ice god, Frost Wuji. Frost Wuji? Surnamed Frost? Lu Chun seemed to have thought of something, but he didn't interrupt Shui. No one knows what happened during the battle. All we know is the final result. What was the result? Lu Chun asked. According to the records, the 7 gods were originally defeated, but for some reason, the 7 gods protected the continent in the end. But they all disappeared. The 7 demonic beast generals are still alive. They escaped with heavy injuries, but the 4 heavenly kings and demonic beast sovereign disappeared with the 7 gods. Lu Chun frowned. He knew where demonic beast sovereign was. Under the heavenly lake of the holy mountain. But strangely, the itinerant immortal under the heavenly lake didn't descend to the lower realm because of the battle of gods and demons. He came to unblock the spirit veins. In other words, the 7 gods might not have won with the help of the upper realm expert. Then how did they suddenly turn defeat into victory? Did other experts descend to the lower realm to assist the 7 gods? He probably couldn't find the answer to this for the time being. Shui didn't know what Lu Chun was thinking. She continued, not long after, the spirit chi in the 5th heaven became thinner and thinner. The spirit veins were blocked by the demonic beasts. Lu Chun already had an answer in his heart. Speaking of which, after the demonic beasts were defeated, why did they block the spirit veins? It couldn't be just for revenge. Blocking the spirit veins wasn't a good thing for the demonic beast army. He felt that there was a big secret hidden here. Then how did you find the ice god? Lu Chun asked. Shui lowered her head and said, I was born with a high affinity for ice and snow. Also, I could sense the ice god's call. When I was 16, I awakened some memories. I knew my heart was his. Lu Chun suddenly paused. He stopped in his tracks and looked at Shui in shock. Shui's heart was the ice god's? Wait a minute, this seemed a little unimaginable. The treasure that Shui carried with her was her heart. So, after you found the ice god, Shui smiled slightly, but there was helplessness and sadness in her smile. I could already feel his call. It seemed that the 5th heaven was about to be stirred up again. Then, it was time to return it to its rightful owner. Lu Chun sucked in a breath. He couldn't react for a moment. How sad was it for someone to live just to preserve someone else's heart? She didn't have a life of her own. She didn't have a purpose in life. To live, the purpose of her life was to help others preserve something that didn't belong to her. Shui had misjudged Lu Chun, but how could Lu Chun not misjudge these 2 people? What's with that expression? I don't need sympathy. Shui smiled at Lu Chun. Lu Chun didn't know what to say for a moment. He could only sigh. Are you going to die in the ancient snow mountain city this time? Of course I'll die if I don't have a heart. Shui smiled. But if I can save more people, then I'm ready. After saying that, Shui's clear eyes looked at the boundless snow-white world. This is my fate. I've long accepted my fate. Chapter 791. I didn't expect to walk the last part of the journey with someone I don't know. Shui smiled and walked forward. Let's go, solipsistic. Countless people's hopes were in front of her, but it was her grave. Lu Chun frowned, but he still followed her. That afternoon, they came to a small iceberg. The interior of the iceberg was probably a huge rock. It had been covered in snow for many years, so it looked more like a small iceberg. Shui looked at the broken wall for a moment, then took a deep breath and pressed one hand on the ice. Not long after, the thick ice suddenly cracked, and the cracks spread out like tree branches. In an instant, the ice shattered, revealing the stone door inside. The stone door opened, and there was a black hole teleportation portal inside. Lu Chun took out the map and compared it. He was surprised to find that on the ancient map, There was the words, Snow Mountain City and Trance. Damn, it's really here, Lu Chen said in surprise. Lu Chen was even more certain that his ancient map was accurate. What? Shuer looked back at Lu Chen. Lu Chen put away the map and shook his head. Nothing. Are we going in now? Yes. Shuer stepped into the black hole first. After a short moment of dizziness, Lu Chen could see the scene in front of him clearly. He couldn't help but gasp. There was a majestic city in front of him. It was several times bigger than Jinan City. It was surrounded by walls that were more than 10 meters tall. The words, Snow Mountain City, were written on the city gate. The huge city was shrouded in dark clouds. The city was dead silent. The cold wind carried snowflakes through the empty streets, making the whole city look gloomy and solemn. This is the ancient Snow Mountain City. Lu Chen frowned. Yes, a city that has been dead for thousands of years. Shuer walked toward the city gate. The gate was open. After entering the city, they saw some ice sculptures. When Lu Chen got closer, he found that these ice sculptures were very lifelike. Don't touch them. They used to be residents here, Tai Shu, who was lying behind Lu Chen, suddenly said. Let them stay here. Lu Chen was startled and hurriedly withdrew his hand. Senior uncle, don't speak so suddenly. It's quite scary. But why are they frozen here? Lu Chen asked curiously. When the ice god fell, they were buried with her, said the Grand Elder. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. The ice god had fallen and dragged the entire Snow Mountain City down with him? Actually, this was understandable. Many immortal cultivators in the 5th layer of heaven didn't see mortals as human beings. With the ice god's status, it wasn't strange for her to drag some people to the grave with her. Shuer did not say anything after she entered Snow Mountain City. She walked straight to the center of the city. Lu Chen hurriedly chased after Shuer. They came to a square where there was a huge ice sculpture. Shuer stopped in front of the ice sculpture. Lu Chen followed Shuer's gaze and looked at the ice sculpture. The ice sculpture was somewhat broken. One of its arms was broken and stuck to the ice on the ground. However, one could still vaguely see that the original form of the ice sculpture was a handsome, burly middle-aged man. It's him. Shuer nodded. It's him. Then she walked towards a palace. The palace's paths were complicated, but Shuer did not have anyone to guide her. She went straight to one of the main halls. The main hall was empty. In the deepest part of the hall was a frozen throne, and on the throne sat a man. This man's appearance was exactly the same as the ice sculpture in the square. At this moment, his eyes were slightly closed and he looked peaceful. He held an ice sword in his hand and sat majestically on the ice throne. This person must be the ice god himself. Shuer stood in front of the ice god and took a deep breath. She turned to Lu Chen and said, Solipsistic, can you promise me something? What is it? Lu Chen knew that it was time for Shuer to return the heart to its rightful owner. Help me take care of Grand-uncle until he recovers. Shuer? Grand-uncle raised his head with difficulty and looked at Shuer with heartache. Shuer smiled. Her eyes were as clear as ice crystals. Grand-uncle, thank you for taking care of me and protecting me all these years. Now Shuer will leave. You must take care of yourself. As she spoke, tears streamed down Shuer's face. Grand-uncle closed his eyes tightly. He could not bear to watch. He was the Snow Saintess's guardian. His duty was to protect the Snow Maiden and return the heart to the Ice God. However, he had watched Shuer grow from a baby into a beautiful young woman. In his heart, he had long regarded Shuer as his own child. Grand-uncle, don't be sad. This is my fate. Ever since I was 16, I knew that my life did not belong to me. I was just a bag of skin, a vessel, but in the past 18 years I've seen a lot. I've seen the common people struggling to survive. I've seen the heavens being unfair. The 5th stage of the heavenly tribulation is imminent. Even the strong cannot survive, let alone the common people. If my life can save the lives of 1,000,000 people, it's worth it. You're just too kind. Schwer smiled and shook her head. Grand-uncle, you've told me many times. I know, but I just can't change. Lu Chen could not help but shake his head. Why were they of the same heart? One would drag the entire Snow Mountain city down with her, while the other would be willing to sacrifice herself for the common people. Schwer, have you thought it through? You still have time to regret it, Lu Chen suddenly said. Schwer looked at Lu Chen and shook her head. I don't regret it. I can't stop the disaster, but the ice god can. He might not be able to either, Lu Chen said. Before Hachibi died, he said that even if the ice god was resurrected, he would not be able to stop anything. But at least he's more useful than me. Lu Chen snorted. Is there any use? A person who sacrificed 100,000 people, his world might only be filled with himself. Schwer suddenly became stern. Solipsistic, you're not allowed to insult the ice god. Lu Chen shook his head. I know he's your god, but he's not mine. I'm just saying what you don't want to admit. Schwer, it's your destiny to return the ice god's heart. But don't forget, you're a living person. You can decide your own destiny. The ice god's heart was never mine. No, it's yours. Lu Chen carefully put down the grand-uncle and walked in front of Schwer. It's beating in your body. That's why you're different from the ice god. To become a vessel or to become a living person, it's all up to you to make the choice. Schwer did not dare to look at Lu Chen again. She had thought about these questions before, but it was just a fleeting thought. Not everyone dares to go against fate, and not everyone can bear the consequences. Solipsistic, thank you, but I've already decided. Don't say anything more. Lu Chen frowned as he looked at Schwer. This girl didn't seem to listen to him at all. Sometimes you can control your own thoughts, but you can't change the thoughts of others. Schwer walked towards the ice god and slowly knelt down. She put her palms together and kowtowed sincerely. Great ice god, Qian Qiushue is here. Please take away the thing you left with me. Chapter 792. In the sky, a pillar of light broke through the haze and rushed towards the ice goddess hall, enveloping Schwer and the ice goddess in light. Then, with a scream, Schwer's chest was cut open. Lu Chen's eyes widened. He suddenly looked back at the Grand Elder and asked anxiously, Schwer originally lived in the fifth heaven domain? Perhaps only commoners would be treated so cruelly. The Grand Elder was already in tears. He nodded. Yes, Schwer was born in the fifth heaven. Because of this, she had no other choice. She had to protect her own people. For some reason, Lu Chen felt disgusted when he saw the legendary ice goddess who protected the fifth heaven resurrected. Ice goddess is only SOSO, Lu Chen said fiercely. Suddenly, Lu Chen pulled out the limitless demon god sword. Seeing Lu Chen's action, the Grand Elder became nervous. What are you doing? Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. I promised to send you safely to Snow Mountain City. My mission is not completed, so you can't die. This. The Grand Elder didn't know how to answer. Obviously, this was just an excuse. At this moment, Schwer was suffering unimaginable pain. Her chest was completely cut open, and some force was pulling her heart out. I've had enough of these strong people. Since you're already dead, don't make trouble for me. After saying that, Lu Chen shouted, Great Ravager sweep! A ray of sword chi shot towards the light pillar. With a boom, the sword chi hit the light pillar, but it didn't cut it. Stop! Schwer endured the pain and looked back at Lu Chen pleadingly. Lu Chen said domineeringly, No. I'll help you complete the protection that you can't complete. And this time the reward is live well. Soul body as one. Demon god symbiosis. 3 reincarnations. Tiger descends the mountain. Demon god lotus heart, sacred lotus sword heart. This was the sacred lotus sword heart that had just been restored. Even the Eight Tails didn't use the soul body as one. At this moment, Lu Chen didn't hesitate to use it. The attack power of the Saint Lotus Sword Heart in the state of soul-body unification could only be described as terrifying. 1080 Sword Qi mercilessly slammed into the light pillar above Shui-Er's head. Again and again, the fierce collision caused immeasurable damage. At this moment, the earth rumbled, dark clouds rolled in the sky, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The entire ancient snow mountain city was on the verge of collapse. Heavens, this is his soul-body unification? How strong is his fighting soul? Impossible. He's only a 5-star cultivator. How long has it been since he reached the 5th layer? How could a 4th layer cultivate such a terrifying battle soul? The Grand Elder was so shocked that his whole body was trembling. If he fought in this form, the 8 Revolution's 8 tails would not be enough for him to fight. Under 1080 sword beams, the light beam was cut apart by Lu Chen. Little Green, save her. A green figure appeared in front of the Snow Maiden. Although the Snow Maiden's chest was cut open, there was no blood gushing out. She could still be saved. Boss, the Snow Mountain City is about to collapse. Lu Yi carried the unconscious Shui. Lu Chen carried the Grand Elder again and ran towards the exit. Just as he was about to rush out of the Ice God Palace, Lu Chen suddenly heard a voice. Solipsistic, how dare you steal my Ice God's heart? That's my Ice God's heart. Lu Chen turned around. The ice statue was still sitting on the ice throne. A large amount of rocks fell, and the statue's arm was already smashed. Lu Chen snorted. She deserves to live more than you. After saying that, he turned around and slashed the ice statue with great ravager. Little Green, quick! The two of them finally escaped from the ancient snow mountain city. The ice mountain behind them sank into the ground. Run, the snow mountain is about to collapse. Lu Chen was still in the soul-body unification state, so he directly summoned 9 wings. Boss, we can't fly here. There's no time. I'll lead the way. You bring them up, quick! There was a turbulent flow of spiritual energy above the snow mountain. Lu Chen flew in front of 9 wings and used his spiritual energy to break through the turbulence. He quickly brought 9 wings down the mountain. Lu Chen had just left the snow mountain when he looked back. There was a huge fault in the center of the snow mountain. The mountain was pressing down into the abyss. An abandoned city could be seen in the abyss. It was the ancient snow mountain city. However, it was quickly buried by the snow mountain. In an instant, the area's landmark snow mountain had become a ruin. It was much shorter than the surrounding mountains. The ancient snow mountain city will no longer exist. Lu Chen shook his head. Shui-Er was already unconscious, but the Grand Elder was still awake. At this moment, he was completely confused. The ice god had not been revived. The ancient snow mountain city was gone. His mission, had he failed? However, when Lu Chen attacked just now, he did not resist at all. From the bottom of his heart, he even hoped that Lu Chen would save Shui. It turned out that he had already made his choice. The snow mountain collapsed. Many people were rushing over. Lu Chen put away 9 wings and left quietly with a few people. 2 days later, by a quiet lake surrounded by icebergs, a young man in simple clothes was fishing on a piece of floating ice. A big fish. Unfortunately, this time, it was an ordinary silver-scale barracuda. It's okay. The taste is not bad. Lu Chen looked at the fish basket. It should be enough for a few people. Under a rock by the lake, a simple camp was built. The snow on the ground was swept clean, and a bonfire was lit. Xiaomin was boiling water, waiting for Lu Chen to make fish soup. Boss, hurry up. I'm starving, Xiaomin urged. It was easy to get hungry in cold weather. Got it, got it. Lu Chen walked over quickly and quickly prepared the ingredient. Not long after, the fragrant fish soup floated. Xiaomin was already crying. Leaning against the rock wall, the Grand Elder helped Shui-Er up. Schwer, get up and eat something. Schwer had just woken up in the morning. The wound on her chest had been stitched up by Louis. Her vital signs were still normal. However, Schwer kept staring at Lucien. Her eyes were indescribably complicated. Resentment? Blame? Or gratitude? She could not explain it clearly. Louis, furball, and rhubarb had also returned. She brought back some herbs, washed them, and put them in the fish soup. Soon, the fish soup was ready. Lucien personally poured a bowl for the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder took the bowl, but Schwer suddenly raised her hand and pressed down on Lucien's wrist. Lucien looked at Schwer in surprise. Was she going to flip out? He was probably going to be scolded. She had lived for 18 years to complete her mission, but he had ruined it. If you want to scold me, wait until you've recovered. Lucien laughed. Why did you make such a decision on your own? Do you know what you've done? You. Cough, 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 cough. Lucien looked at Schwer. He could not help but feel sorry for her, but he did not know how to comfort her. Suddenly, Schwer raised her head and stared at Lucien. Her stare made Lucien's hair stand on end. You said you would accept the protection that I couldn't complete. Will you go back on your word? Lucien finally breathed a sigh of relief. The corner of his mouth rose. No. Of course, if you're willing to add some cash, then I have no objections. Chapter 793. It seemed that not only was the fifth heaven about to be rebooted, it was also facing a huge crisis. From the legends of the seven ancient gods, it was not hard to see that this matter was related to the magical beast army. And Lucien's current mission, rebooting the fifth heaven, was also related to the magical beast. It was very likely that they would face the same enemy. No matter what, Lucien had messed up Schwer's big plan. This time, he had to take responsibility for it. At night, Harry Ball was in charge of blocking the wind. Schwer and the Grand Elder were both asleep. Lucien was still leveling up his fishing skills. If only I could catch something like the clear water droplet. At this moment, he noticed that someone was walking over from behind. Schwer was wrapped in a blanket. She walked slowly and sat quietly beside Lucien. Can you catch some other fish? It's always the silver scale barracuda. Schwer said softly. Perhaps it was because she was weak or she was afraid of scaring the fish away. I think there's only this kind of fish here. Lucien shook his head helplessly. Why are you out here? You haven't recovered from your injuries. Well, I forgot to tell you something during the day. Lucien looked at Schwer strangely. Schwer's clear eyes looked at this man. It was a little dazzling. He could not tell if the lake in the night was more beautiful or if her eyes were more beautiful. Finally, she said softly, "Thank you." Lucien was stunned. Then, he scratched his head embarrassedly. "It's nothing. If you can really solve this crisis, I will promise you that I will live well." Lucien nodded. "Yes, live well. Oh, right. Do you know the identity of the ice god? His name is Xuangwuji. Do you know about the Frost tribe?" Lucien suddenly thought of this question. "I'm not too sure. I only awakened a part of my memories. I know my mission, but I don't know much about the ice god's life." Lucien nodded thoughtfully. He couldn't be the ancestor of the Frost clan, could he? That was a possibility. If he had stopped the Frost clan's ancestor from reviving, then when he met Xuangling, Xuangwu, and the others, it would be best not to tell them. "Hey, are you trying to earn some cash coupons?" Snow suddenly asked. "Yes, of course. Why, do you know where to find it?" Lucien immediately became interested. "On the way to the ancient snow mountain city, I heard that a rare treasure will appear in the north of the Dongyu Nation in 2 months. When the time comes, all the experts will come. It's basically impossible for one person to snatch the treasure. When the treasure appears, there will be people looking for capable helpers. Some of the big forces will offer very high prices. You can go and take a look." The fish seemed to have taken the bait, but Lucien had no time to fish. He hurriedly asked, "What treasure? We don't know yet." The oracle only gave us a rough location, let alone what kind of treasure it is. On the way, I saw someone offering a sky-high price of 100,000 cash coupons. This price isn't something an ordinary person can afford. But with your strength, maybe you can give it a try. But you have to be careful. If you still insist on not activating the soul body as one, then you have to be careful. At that time, there will be many super experts appearing. Even magical beasts might come to snatch the treasure. Lu Chen frowned slightly. If it really was a treasure, then he probably wouldn't become someone's helper. There were still 2 months left. There was plenty of time, so there was no need to rush. This is 20,000 cash coupons. Snow placed a stack of cash coupons in Lu Chen's hand. Your mission has been completed. We will leave here tomorrow. Lu Chen took the coupons and silently put them in his bag. You're leaving tomorrow? You and granduncle are both injured. Also, don't you plan to supervise me to fulfill my promise? Snow smiled. I don't think we've misjudged you this time. If you can't do it, then I don't think anyone else can. We're not going to Snow Mountain City. I know a village nearby. There are some people we know there. We'll stay there temporarily to recuperate. We'll make plans after we've recovered. Lu Chen nodded. And Snow took out a talisman. This is my voice-transmitting talisman. The next morning, Lu Chen and Shui-Er parted ways at the fork in the road. Lu Chen watched Shui-Er and Grand Elder Tai Shu leave. Snow looked back at Lu Chen several times, but in the end, she disappeared into the snow with Granduncle. Lu Chen shook his head and walked towards another fork in the road. This mission has finally been completed. Lu Chen was in a good mood. Although 20,000 was a little less, it was still a lot for someone like him who had nowhere to get a cash coupons. A treasure has appeared. I wonder what kind of treasure it is. Lu Chen took out the map to check. Since the map showed the location of the ancient Snow Mountain City, Lu Chen trusted it even more. There was a red dot in the north of King's City. There's a red dot here. Is it related to the so-called treasure? Lu Chen thought. Forget it. I can't be sure now. I'll know when the time comes. Anyway, you have the oracle and I have rhubarb. I'm not afraid of you. Snow Mountain City was not far from here. Lu Chen planned to go to Snow Mountain City and pick up a mission to return to Southtown City. He would then go north to King City and get closer to the treasure. After walking for a few hours, a city appeared in front of him. There were more people around. Caravans, armies, and other small groups were all heading towards Snow Mountain City. And these people were all talking about the same thing. The snow mountain collapsed. You guys saw it too? That's scary. The whole mountain was gone in an instant. I think it's a good thing. We don't have to take detours anymore. Speaking of which, the one on the snow mountain should be dead, right? What kind of almighty person fought with that person? Who knows? But don't you feel it? It seems that the fifth heaven is getting more and more chaotic. Magical beasts from all sides seem to be getting restless. It's understandable that some strong people have appeared. Speaking of which, you guys know about the attack on the spiritual stone mine, right? I heard that another spiritual stone mine was attacked. The scene was exactly the same as the last time. The guards and miners were sucked dry until only their skin was left. Not only did I hear about it, I have a shadow stone here. This time, the dwarf tribe was in charge of mining the spiritual stone mine. Because of the previous incident, they specially sent a 6-star earth cultivation and 2 5-star earth cultivation to guard it. The result was the same. What, even the 6-star earth cultivation was sucked dry. Lu Chen walked past these people. His relaxed mood suddenly became tense again. That guy is on the move again. And he killed 3 earth cultivation powerhouses at the same time. That guy's growth is too fast. If I want to beat him, I don't just need to increase my attributes. This time, when the treasure appears, I have to get it. A month later, Lu Chen went back and forth between a few cities, accepted a few escort missions, and earned a few thousand cash coupons. This was the last time he accepted an escort mission, and his destination was Lower King City. Once he arrived at Lower King City, Lu Chen noticed that the people around him were a little different. There was only half a month before the treasure appeared. At this time, Lower King City, which was the largest city closest to the treasure, was bound to be a gathering of experts, crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Among the ordinary people, there might be high-star earth cultivation, or even stronger people hiding among them. One of the pedestrians accidentally bumped into Lu Chen. In that moment, Lu Chen saw his hidden badge. 9-star earth cultivation. That person even apologized to Lu Chen, hurriedly put on his clothes, covered his badge again, and left. Looking at the person's back, Lu Chen squatted down and patted Rhubarb's head. Rhubarb, looks like this treasure hunt is going to be interesting. Chapter 794. Now that Lu Chen was already a 7-star wild cultivator, his three-dimensional attributes were still evenly distributed at 46,000 points per attribute. He was ranked after 200. After reaching the cultivator realm, Lu Chen's ranking rose rapidly. It was clear that there were more cultivators in the fifth heaven. Of course, his ranking with 2 million points was still very low. At present, it was impossible to infer the strength of the strongest from the rankings. Lu Chen found an inn to stay in for the time being. The lower city was larger than the previous few cities. Its area was estimated to be more than 3 times the size of Snow Mountain City. The cost of the inns here was twice as high as other places. However, the lower city was still crowded. Lu Chen found a few inns before he found an earth-ranked room to check out. After settling down, Lu Chen restocked on some supplies and then headed to the Commission Square. After 2 months in several cities, Lu Chen had already figured out the pattern. Slightly larger cities all had such squares. People would always have various needs and need help from others. Here, one could earn spirit stones. Difficult missions could also earn cash withdrawal coupons. However, cash withdrawal coupons were not that easy to earn. Missions with generous rewards were usually time-consuming and energy-consuming. Now that the rare treasure was about to appear, the Commission Square was even more crowded. Increase the number of members in the treasure hunt team. 1-star earth cultivator and above is needed to assist in battle. 600 cash withdrawal coupons per day. 600 cash withdrawal coupons per day. It was now about half a month before the rare treasure appeared. At present, it was said that only a few teams had fought sporadically in the wild. However, they were only probing and there were no casualties. In other words, one could easily earn close to 10,000 cash withdrawal coupons. Recruiting 3 1-star earth cultivators and above. Strong team. Must agree not to participate in the treasure distribution. Price will be negotiated in person. Looking for several 1-star earth cultivators. Can participate in the treasure distribution or pay with cash withdrawal coupons. Price will be negotiated in person. These recruiters were all at least earth cultivators. Most of them would be negotiated in person. It was estimated that they could not be recruited at a normal price. However, Lu Chen also noticed that there were some people whose entrustment information was very vague. The Big Dipper clan is temporarily recruiting. Interview in person. Rare treasure, let's talk face to face. When Lu Chen approached these people, they only swept a glance at Lu Chen's badge. Perhaps some of them were whispering to their companions about Lu Chen's identity as a wild practitioner, but without exception, they all drove Lu Chen away. Stop looking. You're not qualified to accept our commission. Go away, don't block others. You're already a 7-star cultivator, and a wild one at that? That's rare. Excuse me, you shouldn't be here. He was just a cultivator who had not even reached the great cultivator realm. Naturally, he would not be valued. Lu Chen noticed that, let alone him, a cultivator, even those below the 5-star Earth cultivation level would not look at the commission over there. Looks like some of the more powerful forces are expanding their teams, Lu Chen guessed. If the Grand Uncle and the others didn't leave, they could have helped me, Lu Chen muttered. Unfortunately, after such a big incident with the Ice God, they probably did not have the heart to compete for any treasures. There were many people who issued commissions. Lu Chen roughly calculated that there might be 100 or 200 teams, and there would definitely be more participating in the treasure hunt. After all, Lu Chen had only looked for a while. It was impossible for him to meet all the teams, and many teams did not need to expand their teams. Some powerful teams had sufficient manpower and did not need outsiders at all. Lu Chen also heard that there were some dwarves and elves outside the city, and there were also a lot of them. Although they were all from the Dongyu nation, conflicts were inevitable because of their different races. In order to avoid accidents at this juncture, they generally gathered in other small cities nearby. Based on this deduction, there were at least a few thousand teams participating in the treasure hunt. The number of people could reach hundreds of thousands or even millions. Lu Chen could be considered a treasure hunt professional, but it was the first time he encountered so many people fighting for treasures at the same time. In the past, whether it was the Yu's secret realm or the Heaven's Punishment Tower, it was always Lu Chen alone. However, this time, the moment the treasure appeared, it would be an unimaginably chaotic scene. Of course, Lu Chen could not join other people's teams. Now, the main thing was to understand the situation of others. After a general understanding, Lu Chen returned to his residence. Taking out the map, Lu Chen placed it in the northern area of Lower King City. There was a red dot there, but there was no hint on the red dot. I've been to this area for the past 2 days. This area is not like Snow Mountain City. The mountains there have basically not changed, but here in Lower King City, there have been some changes in the landscape, so the treasure might not be in the area shown on the map. He could only roughly determine the area where the treasure might appear. It was about 30 square kilometers. With Rhubarb's help, Lu Chen narrowed the area again. However, the treasure seemed to be buried very deep. Even Rhubarb could not determine its location. On his personal map, Lu Chen marked the smallest area that he had locked onto. About 10 square kilometers. Although I can't determine the exact location, if there is any movement, I shouldn't miss it. Being able to do this is already enough. Lu Chen was still very confident about this. Now, he just had to wait for the day the treasure appeared. The time for the prophesied treasure to appear was getting closer and closer. The entire Lower King City seemed to be no different from before, but there were some subtle differences. At the Commission Plaza, almost no one was recruiting helpers anymore. Many caravans and passers-by had left Lower King City. There were fewer people on the road. Many people left the city early in the morning and only returned late at night. The silence in the city was like the low pressure before a storm, making the entire city seem especially oppressive. On this day, several groups of immortal cultivators came from a far Lower King City. There were about 100 people in this group, led by a few elders. They were all dressed in the same ink-style clothes with the word Jiang embroidered on the chest. Their coats covered their badges, so their ranks could not be seen. It's the Tiannan Jiang family. It can't be, they're here too. This Dongyu Nation, Tiannan Jiang family, Tianbei Xiong family, Yushi Ghosts Guild, East Moon Sage clan. If the Jiang family is here, then the other 3 families will not be idle. Sure enough, after the Tiannan Jiang family entered Lower King City, the other 3 families' teams also entered Lower King City. Well, you really jinxed it. The 4 major forces are here. What are we going to fight for now? What are you saying? When the treasure appears, the right time, the right place, and the right people are indispensable. There are so many people here. Even they don't have the confidence to snatch the treasure. Snatching the treasure is the right time, the right place, and the right people. We don't necessarily have no hope. That's right. Besides, the other races have also sent their big forces. Although the four major forces are strong, they don't dare to say that they are stronger than the other races. When the time comes, who will emerge victorious will depend on luck. Not long after the four major forces arrived, there was another troop outside the city, advancing into the lower city in a grandiose manner. At the front of the team, there was someone riding on an underground lizard, holding a large flag in his hand. On the flag were the words, Dongyue Imperial Family. Chapter 795. It's the Dongyu royal family. The surrounding people could no longer remain calm. Heavens, they're all here! Mounts are prohibited in front of the royal city. Only members of the Dongyu royal family are qualified to ride them. Although it's just a ground lizard, it's still a symbol of status. We can't compare to it. AI, even they've come out. Do we still have a share of this treasure? The people from the southern sky, northern sky, eastern moon, and western moon forces who had entered the lower royal city earlier all had grave expressions on their faces as they stared at the mighty group. The royal family really came. They still like to make a big fuss. It looks like the competition for this treasure will be more difficult than expected. The royal family's temperament was different from others. Even the people from the four major powers had their heads lowered as they walked. However, the royal family's people had their heads slightly raised, naturally carrying an insufferably arrogant aura. Lu Chen noticed that the royal family and the four major powers were mostly young people. There were only a few older people leading the group. These people probably weren't the strongest existences among the four major powers. But even so, their strength was already enough to make the various forces unable to sit still. When they arrived at the gates of the royal city, the royal family's leader unhurriedly dismounted from his mount, put away the ground lizard, and led the group into the royal city. When the royal family entered the city, everyone rushed to the sides of the road and bowed their heads in greeting. Except for one person, no one told Lu Chen that he needed to bow when seeing the Dongyu royal family. By the time he realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. The royal family's group stopped, and the man in the lead saw Lu Chen watching the show. "You come here," the man coldly said. Lu Chen had already realized that something was wrong. Everyone around him had their heads lowered, and only he was stretching his neck. He could only squeeze out of the crowd and walk in front of the leader. The leader's gaze fell on Lu Chen's badge. 7-star. Wild. Cultivator? No wonder he doesn't know the rules. No one taught him. Behind him, the royal family's members all looked at Lu Chen's badge in surprise. No way, he's really an unaffiliated cultivator. How did he become a cultivator? This world is truly filled with all sorts of strange things. Even a 7-star cultivator is unable to join a sect. From the looks of it, he must have been rejected by the major sections. Brother Jing and I, isn't the entry requirement for sects very low? There are still people who can't reach it? The young man named Jing and I snorted coldly. That's because the requirements are low for us. But for ordinary people, the requirements of some great forces are something they can never achieve in their lifetime. Let's take this person for example. Even now, he has yet to join a sect. He is probably the trashiest type of trash that not even a sect would want. Lu Chen frowned slightly. There were many people who questioned his identity, but this group of people was the most outspoken. He snorted coldly. I'm an unaffiliated cultivator, that's right, but that doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Who said that I have to join a sect? The leader looked at Lu Chen coldly. Kid, do you know who you're talking to? Lu Chen smiled faintly. What? Can the Dongyue imperial family interfere with my cultivation? Arrogant. Uncle Qin, this person dares to talk back to the imperial family. Kill him. A girl who looked to be about 17 or 18 years old said to the leader. Lu Chen's brows furrowed even tighter. His life and death were so easy to deal with in just one sentence? He didn't want to fight at first. Since these great forces were here, it meant that the treasure would appear in the next few days. It was very unwise to fight now. But if the other party continued to be so aggressive, he didn't mind being wanted in the 5th layer of heaven. Anyway, from the 2nd layer of heaven onwards, he didn't know what to do if he wasn't wanted. At this moment, Uncle Chin suddenly made his move. Overwhelming vital energy. A fierce and sharp spiritual energy shot out from his palm and went straight for Lu Chen's face. Sure enough, he still made his move. It should be some kind of Buddhist seal attack. Its power was extraordinary, and it was hard to track. Lu Chen snorted coldly and dodged the attack with a triple door. The palm missed and hit a house dozens of meters away. In an instant, a huge palm print was imprinted on the wall of the house, and the wall disappeared. The palm continued to penetrate hundreds of meters and destroyed dozens of houses. Finally, it hit the wall of the royal city. It was blocked by the special wall material and left a palm print on the wall. Looking back, the overwhelming vital energy left a row of palm prints on the wall hundreds of meters away. Countless people around suddenly widened their eyes. This casual attack, the damage is so terrifying? He hasn't merged his soul and body yet. How can he leave a palm print on the wall made of adamantium black tortoise stone? That guy is so strong. Lu Chen looked back. Those houses had been destroyed. He didn't know if there were people in the houses. If there were, they would have been smashed into meat paste. In the eyes of the imperial family, even the life and death of cultivators was within their control, let alone those commoners. At this moment, Uncle Chin was slightly surprised. He did consider that the other party was only a 7-star cultivator, so he only attacked casually. But even if he didn't use his full strength, a mere 7-star cultivator could still dodge his palm print so easily. This guy was quite something. As a member of the Dongyue imperial family, it was already very embarrassing for him to miss his attack. If he attacked again, it would lower his status. Humph, kid, this is a warning. If there's a next time, I won't be merciful. Uncle Chin, you're letting this trash go just like that? Behind Uncle Chin, several people glared at Lu Chen. This kind of lowly commoner must be killed as an example to others. Let us kill him. Uncle Chin waved his hand, stopping them from continuing. Shut up. As members of the imperial family, your status is so noble. Don't you lose your status by attacking a lowly commoner? All of you remember this. Let's go. Uncle Chin didn't waste any more time. He led the troops and walked past Lu Chen. Several young people in the group glared at Lu Chen fiercely, but in the end they held back and didn't attack. Lu Chen snorted. They didn't attack not only because they looked down on him from the bottom of their hearts, but also because they wanted to preserve their strength. Although the imperial family's strength was tyrannical, the 4 major powers were not to be trifled with either. In addition, he couldn't rule out the possibility that there were hidden experts around. It was obviously unwise to start a fight before the treasure appeared. However, since they didn't attack, Lu Chen couldn't be bothered to pursue the matter. He shook his head and turned back to the crowd. Speaking of which, was this the Dongyue imperial family? Lu Chen was a little disappointed in them. Ever since the imperial family and the 4 major powers had entered, the atmosphere in the royal city had become even more tense. Now, for some of the smaller powers, observing the actions of the major powers was the best way to obtain information. These major powers all had oracles. They could calculate the time and location of the treasure more accurately. 2 days later, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the clouds, and the wind raged in the city. Omen had appeared. The imperial family and the 4 major powers all came out in full force. After receiving the news, the entire royal city became restless. Almost everyone came out in full force on this day. Chapter 796. Rhubarb, wake up and get to work. Lu Chun packed up his belongings and led Rhubarb to join the treasure-hunting army. It was still daytime, but the sky was dark. After the large group left the city, they headed north in a mighty manner. The Dongyue imperial family's team walked at the front, unafraid of a large group of people following behind them. A man in a long robe held a compass in his hand, observing the location on the compass as he walked. After walking for a while, he stopped, and the entire team stopped as well. It should be around here, but the treasure contains too much spiritual energy, so we can't narrow down the area for now, the man said. Zhai Kong, can you calculate the exact time of the treasure's birth? Uncle Qin asked. Judging from the current celestial phenomenon, the treasure should be born within 24 hours. Uncle Qin nodded. They had already narrowed down the area to 5 square kilometers. Within this area, as long as the treasure appeared, they would know its location and act according to the situation. Each of the 4 major forces had their own oracles. Their calculations were almost the same. Therefore, they also occupied high ground and waited for the right opportunity to strike. At this time, it was not only the royal city's team that had arrived. More and more teams came from all directions, including some from other races. Looking around, the plains in front of them were already packed with people. Everyone had set up camp, waiting for the treasure to appear. Lu Chun and Rhubarb stood on top of a pile of rocks, staring at the crowd around them. So many! Lu Chun shook his head. Who knows how many experts there are? The treasure this time won't be easy to get. Squatting, Lu Chun stroked Rhubarb's fur. Rhubarb, even you can't determine the exact location? Rhubarb lowered his head and sniffed the ground, as if trying to determine the location of the treasure. Then, Rhubarb suddenly raised his head and looked at a lake in the distance. It can't be at the bottom of the lake, right? Lu Chun asked curiously. Didn't you say it was nearby? That lake shouldn't be within the range. Rhubarb didn't make a sound and ran towards the lake. Lu Chun hurriedly chased after him. This unknown lake was some distance away from the location of the treasure predicted by the oracles. There was no one around. Although Lu Chun believed in Rhubarb's ability to find treasures, going against everyone's expectations still made him somewhat suspicious. Rhubarb, are you sure the treasure came from here? Woof woof woof. You said there was something wrong here? Lu Chun was a little surprised. At this moment, a ripple suddenly appeared on the calm surface of the lake. Then, a large head emerged from the lake. Holy shit, a demonic beast? Lu Chun immediately perked up, but when he took a closer look, he realized that other than the head being a little bigger, it seemed somewhat familiar. After thinking about it carefully, Lu Chun remembered. Little golden carp? It can't be you, right? The guy in the lake revealed a pair of big eyes and blinked. A voice sounded in Lu Chun's mind. It's me, Benefactor. I could feel that the dog beside you was using its spiritual energy to search, so I lured it over. Fortunately, it found me. Lu Chun's eyes widened. It's really you? You've grown so big. Speaking of which, it had only been a few months since Lu Chun last met the little golden carp, but judging from its head that was above the lake, it should be at least 3 to 4 meters long. Benefactor, it's too late to reminisce. Listen to me. The treasure this time is very dangerous. It's not something that you can fight for. Lu Chun was surprised. You know what treasure it is? Although I don't know exactly what it is, I can feel a dangerous aura at the bottom of the lake. Its strength is very terrifying. Lu Chun frowned. No matter how terrifying it is, there are at least hundreds of thousands of people here, and their strength is very strong. Even if it's the 4 heavenly kings of magical beasts, I'm afraid it will only be surrounded and beaten. Benefactor, that's not the strength of a level 5. Lu Chun was right. There were too many masters here. While he was talking with the little golden carp, someone not far away had noticed something and seemed to be rushing over here. Someone is coming. I have to go. Benefactor, if you must fight for the treasure, make good use of the Clearwater Pearl, but, if possible, you should go. The little golden carp seemed to be afraid of being discovered. When it saw someone approaching, it immediately dived into the lake and disappeared. Before Lu Chen could react, 3 or 4 people had already arrived beside him. They looked at Lu Chen strangely and then looked at the lake. And, strange. Hey kid, did some rare dragon species appear here just now? Lu Chen shook his head. No. No. Those few people were skeptical. It is said that when a treasure appears, there will be a black gold koi nearby. If you can catch the black gold koi, then the value of the treasure on its body will not lose to any treasure. Black gold koi, that is the rarest dragon species. Not to mention the treasure on its body, even if it doesn't, just a black gold koi is priceless. Lu Chen thought in his heart. Could the little golden carp be the black gold koi that they were talking about? Whether it was or not, Lu Chen would not tell them anyway. The little golden carp's strength was actually very strong. The last time Lu Chen caught it, he directly used soul-body unification. At that time, the little golden carp was still very small. If it was underwater, he was not sure if he could catch the little golden carp. Now that the little golden carp had grown very big, Lu Chen believed that in the water, there were very few people who could catch it. I said no, that means no. I came here to pee. You guys even chased me here? If you think that I am lying to you, then go catch the black gold koi yourself. Lu Chen said in a bad mood, then turned and left. Those few people looked at each other. That guy came here to pee? This seemed to explain the ripples on the lake. If there was really a black gold koi, he would not leave so easily. Thinking that the lake had just been polluted by that guy, those few people suddenly lost their interest and could only leave resentfully. Lu Chen had just left for a while, and the best position had been taken by others. Now, he was standing at the outermost edge. He did not expect to meet the little golden carp here. The more precious a treasure was, the more powerful the creature would be guarding it. For example, the godly demon Limitless Sword, but it was the strongest guardian of the ancient dragon race. Its strength was much stronger than that of the third heaven expert. In this case, the little golden carp's warning should not be groundless. Since that was the case, Lu Chen simply stood at the outermost edge of the predicted area. There were so many people in front of him, so he should be safe. In addition, the little golden carp said that the key to snatching the treasure was the clear water pearl. He did not know how to use it. At night, the originally dusky sky quickly became pitch black. The bonfires set up by the various teams could only illuminate a small area. From afar, this plain was dotted with sparks of flames in the caves, like will-o'-the-wisps. Only when lightning occasionally flashed through the dark clouds would it instantly illuminate the ground, and one could see a large number of treasure hunters gathered everywhere. At this moment, the ground began to shake violently. For a moment, there were exclamations everywhere. Chapter 797. The treasure is about to appear. Be careful of the ground, there's going to be an earthquake. The panicked crowd no longer cared about the fire. The strong wind easily extinguished the sparks of the fire, and everyone was plunged into darkness. Lu Chen had never encountered such a situation before. He quickly stood up. Rhubarb, come back first. The surroundings were too dark. Lu Chen was afraid that there would be a change, so he first recalled Rhubarb. Heavenly Eye. Lu Chen immediately activated his Heavenly Eye to help him identify the item. Most people were still in place. It seemed that the treasure had not appeared. Someone must have deliberately misled others just now in an attempt to create more chaos. At this time, no one's words could be trusted. However, a large number of cracks had indeed appeared on the ground. A bolt of lightning flashed, and the cracks on the ground could be seen crisscrossing left and right, spreading in all directions like tree root. Fortunately, Lu Chen was not in the central area, so the impact here was smaller. What kind of treasure is it? It hasn't appeared yet, and there's already such a big commotion. Someone beside him sighed. It would be great if a large number of treasures appeared. If we're lucky, we can still get some. But it seems that it might be some kind of powerful treasure. If that's the case, we probably won't have any chance. That's hard to say. Look at the darkness. The visibility is estimated to be no more than 3 to 4 meters. When the time comes and chaos ensues, we won't even know who got the treasure. Beside Lu Chen, there were also some small teams with mediocre strength who were trying to fish in troubled waters. The shaking of the earth became more and more violent. The ground under Lu Chen's feet also began to crack, and the cracks spread farther and farther. At this moment, someone suddenly screamed. Lu Chen had not yet understood what was going on when someone beside him also screamed. Immediately after, Lu Chen discovered that a large amount of spiritual energy was rushing out from the ground, gushing out from the crack. As long as someone came into contact with the strange spiritual energy, their body would immediately wither. Crack, crack, crack. The ground under Lu Chen's feet suddenly cracked, followed by a burst of spiritual energy. Lu Chen widened his eyes. Quick shift. With a quick movement, he narrowly avoided the eruption of spiritual power. However, the two people who were chatting with him earlier were not so lucky. In the darkness, they did not know what was happening around them. At this moment, a stream of spiritual energy suddenly gushed out from under their feet. Although the two of them reacted quickly, one of their arms was still touched by the spiritual energy and directly withered. My arm. As soon as the man landed, he looked at his arm in horror. Without waiting for him to stand firm, the ground beneath his feet collapsed again. This time, he was even more miserable. His entire body directly turned into a pile of skin in the flow of spiritual energy. Lu Chen witnessed the entire process with his heavenly eye and couldn't help but gasp. In any case, that guy was a high-star great cultivator, but he didn't even have a chance to resist and died directly? This turbulent flow of spiritual energy was somewhat similar to the astral winds surrounding the infinite fiend god sword. However, it was even more concealed, dangerous, and fatal. No, perhaps it couldn't be compared like this. After all, the dragon necropolis appeared thousands of years ago, and the situation here had just appeared. Naturally, its power was stronger. In any case, there were already cries of alarm in the surroundings. The turbulent flow of spiritual energy had already killed and seriously injured countless people. The most frightening thing was that the surroundings were so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. The entire treasure-snatching scene was in chaos. The phenomenon is getting more and more terrifying, indicating that the treasure is getting closer and closer. Lu Chen was 120% alert, avoiding the turbulent flow that could appear at any time under his feet. His gaze was fixed on the center of the treasure-snatching area. The powerful team over there was in the center of the crisis, but they also displayed the strength of a powerhouse. Even in the darkness, it was not difficult for them to avoid the sudden appearance of the turbulent flow of spiritual energy. Moreover, they had endless magical weapons in their hands, and their team was still stable. About 10 minutes later, the cracks in the ground and the turbulent flow of spiritual energy finally stabilized. The turbulent flow of spiritual energy continued to spurt out from the cracks, but no new cracks appeared. At this time, a deafening thunder rumbled in the sky. The thunder and lightning crossed half the sky, as if the sky was torn open by someone. Immediately after, countless bolts of lightning fell from the sky and smashed into this area. Damn, I understand. What kind of treasure is this? It actually has the protection of a celestial phenomenon. Damn, this heavenly lightning is natural heavenly lightning. It'll be terrible if you get hit by it. This is really terrible. There aren't many places to stand on the ground. Such a dense lightning array. The lightning array fell and crazily bombarded Feng Yuan for dozens of miles. The rolling heavenly lightning illuminated the previously pitch-black land into a deathly white color. Facing such a frightening lightning array, someone had already activated soul-body unification in advance. Damn it, are they crazy? Soul-body unification. Protection of the immortal Buddha. Lightning defense sword array. All-conquering golden bell. All kinds of techniques and magical weapons emerged one after another. Everyone was trying their best to resist the attacks of the lightning array. Lu Chen did not use any techniques for the time being and only dodged with his body. He was relatively far from the center, and the lightning array was concentrated in the center. The surroundings were sparse, so he could still avoid it. Damn, is this the appearance of a treasure? So frightening! Before seeing the treasure, Lu Chen already believed the little golden carp's warning. It was definitely not groundless. The lightning array lasted for more than 10 minutes. When the surroundings returned to darkness, it was unknown how many people were eliminated by the lightning array. Lu Chen's small and weak team had either died, been injured, or escaped. There were not many left. However, the celestial phenomenon protection did not end. Suddenly, a heavy rain fell from the sky. Now, everyone did not dare to be careless. The moment the rain fell, everyone activated their shields, afraid that there would be fatal injuries in the rain. The rain was not a problem, but under the heavy rain, Lu Chen discovered a problem. The rain was too heavy, as if something heavy was pressing down on them. Furthermore, the ground was already muddy, making it difficult to move. Now, many movement techniques could not be used, such as rapid movement, 7 stars chasing moon, and instant shadow in the night. Only the triple gate, layers of ghost shadows, and 9 void steps could still be used. In addition, normal movement was very difficult. Damn, how many people's movement techniques were sealed? Lu Chen's eyes widened. The heavy rain fell for half an hour without any intention of stopping. It was getting heavier and heavier. The downpour had already blurred the world. The ground was muddy, and the low-lying areas were so full of water that it was impossible to stand. 2 hours later, the plain had shockingly turned into a lake. The original treasure hunting team of 1 million people was probably less than 100,000 people now. Even those who did not die in the fissure, the spiritual energy turbulence, and the lightning array, many of them had open soul-body unification. Thus, to them, they had already lost the qualifications to fight for the treasure. As for the remaining people, it could already be confirmed that all of them were experts. At this time, every one of them was covered in water droplets, but their expressions were unusually solemn. Thunder sounded in the sky again. Many people could not help but look at the sky. It wouldn't be another lightning array, would it? Now that their displacement had failed and their movement speed had slowed down, another lightning array would probably eliminate a portion of them. Fortunately, it was just normal rain and thunder this time. Almost at the same time, there was a loud boom. The surface of the lake formed by the rainwater suddenly surged with huge waves of mud, and the ground split in two. A silver light rose from the ground and rushed straight to the horizon. Lu Chen's breathing started to become hurried. That treasure was finally going to come out. Chapter 798. Everyone thought that the treasure was about to appear, especially those forces near the central area. There were already thousands of people rushing towards the light pillar. Lu Chen suppressed his anxiety. The little golden carp said that the treasure was very dangerous. From the previous celestial protection, it was obvious. He was not in a hurry to snatch it. In the direction of the light pillar, the thousands of people who had just approached were directly sent flying. Lu Chen couldn't help but be shocked. Among those people, there were many high-star-level cultivators or even higher. They didn't even have the strength to fight back and were directly sent flying? The heavy rain was still falling. Lu Chen stood on the stone, and the surroundings were already submerged by the rain. At this moment, a golden light appeared at Lu Chen's feet. Little golden carp? Lu Chen recognized this guy at a glance. There was no one around him. The little golden carp swam to Lu Chen's feet. Benefactor, you still haven't left. Do you really want that treasure? Of course I want it, Lu Chen said, but now it seems that it's not so easy to snatch it. Benefactor, to get that treasure, you might have to pay a high price. Do you know what it is? Lu Chen asked. The little golden carp seemed to know quite a lot. Ancient god blood. Ancient god blood? Lu Chen frowned slightly. Speaking of which, he seemed to have obtained ancient demon blood before. Ancient demon blood was different from ordinary demon blood. It was something from the demon world. In other words, it was an item that existed in reality. Could it be the same for ancient demon blood? Benefactor, ordinary people can't merge with ancient demon blood even if they obtain it. Moreover, the ancient demon blood is now in the guardian's body. Her strength isn't something you can deal with. Lu Chen took a deep breath. Previously, when he didn't know what treasure it was, he didn't care. Now that he knew, he wanted to get it even more. The ancient demon blood in his body didn't have any effect. Lu Chen guessed that it was because of his special physique that it couldn't work on its own. If he could get the ancient demon blood, he might have a chance to strengthen his body. Little golden carp, I've decided to give it a try. You should leave here quickly. I'm afraid there will be a big battle here. I might have to activate Soul Body as one to have a chance of snatching the treasure. The little golden carp looked at Lu Chen worriedly. Benefactor, you might die. That's only a possibility. The little golden carp still wanted to say something, but when she saw Lu Chen's resolute gaze, she finally shook her head. Benefactor, if you can survive, go to the autumn water lake to find me. I have to go. That guy is about to come out. Benefactor, take care. The little golden carp suddenly jumped down and disappeared. Lu Chen took a deep breath. He took out the clear water bead and suspended it beside him. The rain could no longer hit Lu Chen's body, but the muddy ground and the harsh environment still greatly reduced the power of many of his skills. Primordial divine blood. I have to get it. At this moment, a series of loud rumbles came from the interior of the land that had been split into two. Then, a gigantic figure slowly rose from the light pillar. When he saw this guy, Lu Chen almost thought that he was looking at the extreme nether glow. The body of a woman and the tail of a giant python. It can't be the extreme nether glow. Wait, that can't be. Nuwa. If it was really Nuwa, then it was not as good as the extreme nether glow. This guardian was holding a colorful crystal in her hand. She had the body of a woman and the tail of a snake. Her long hair was like a waterfall and she was dressed in colorful clothes. If it was not Nuwa, who else could it be? Oh my god, it's Lady Nuwa. Lu Chen covered his mouth. No wonder the little golden carp said that they were no match for her. However, he did not know if this Nuwa was a real body or a fighting spirit, or just a remnant soul. Even if it's Nuwa, I have to snatch the god's blood. There were many people who had the same idea as Lu Chen. Those who wanted to snatch the treasure did not care who the other party was. Moreover, the stronger the guardian, the better the treasure. The guardian of the treasure has appeared. Kill the guardian and snatch the treasure. Could the treasure be the divine sky-mending stone in the hands of Nuwa's remnant soul? Half of you activate soul body as one. The rest listen to my command. The guardian of Nuwa's remnant soul is definitely not a small matter. Success or failure depends on this. There were already people who were certain that it was a remnant soul. Lu Chen also felt that it was a fighting spirit. Nuwa's real body should not appear in the fifth heaven. Lu Chen quickly approached the central area. At this moment, Nuwa's remnant soul burst out with a dazzling golden light. Lu Chen's heavenly eye was directly blinded. Even the heavenly eye was not spared, let alone both eyes. Lu Chen only felt that the world was spinning. Then, Nuwa raised one hand and a torrential flood appeared in the sky, pouring down on everyone. The torrential flood surged, and everyone hurriedly dodged. However, only those who had the ability to stay in the air for a long time could avoid the flood. Some people fled in panic and used all their displacement skills, but they still could not avoid the flood. Lu Chen spread his wings and flew in the air. The rain made flying more difficult than usual, but at least he avoided the flood. Looking down at the flood, it was like a tsunami. The ground had turned into an ocean in an instant. What kind of attack is this? Lu Chen's eyes widened. There were less than 100,000 treasure hunters left out of the million treasure hunters. So what if it's Nuwa? We are also immortal cultivators. Why should we be afraid of Nuwa? Someone in front shouted with his real arm. Even if she's Nuwa's remnant soul, she can't deal with so many of us. We must get the treasure at all costs. Although there were less than 1/10 of them left, the fact that they could hold on until now showed their strength. Most of the people here were not lower than a 5-star earth cultivation base. 100,000 powerhouses rushed toward Nuwa's remnant soul at the same time. A large number of skills were wildly thrown at Nuwa's remnant soul. Everyone gave it their all, and the scene was exceptionally beautiful. Heaven mending! Nuwa's remnant soul shouted and pushed out with one palm. Close to 1,000 people in front of her were directly hit and flattened. These 5-star earth cultivation base were directly killed by Nuwa's remnant soul. Create man. Nuwa used another skill. The muddy soil on the ground seemed to come alive and automatically molded into the shapes of various races. After taking shape, it seemed to have a consciousness in an instant and turned into lively human beings that rushed toward the treasure hunters. A 6-star earth cultivation base slammed his palm toward a clay figurine. He thought that with his soul body as one state, he could finish off the clay figurine with one slap. Unexpectedly, the other party easily dodged it and sent him flying with a backhand slap. What level is this clay figurine? It's at least an 8-star earth cultivation base, and it has the strength of a soul body as one state. Oh no, there are more and more clay figurines. Their numbers seem to be a few times more than ours, and it's still increasing. The land was boundless. It was no exaggeration to say that Nuwa's remnant soul could have as many clay figurines as she wanted. With just 2 skills, Nuwa's remnant soul had already suppressed these super powerhouses. Lu Chen was already surrounded by more than 10 clay figurines. He was still in the air and his movements were limited. There were still a large number of clay figurines rushing over. Lu Chen's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He glanced at the huge Nuwa's remnant soul in the distance. Primordial divine blood. Did he really not have a chance to get it? No. I don't believe it. Soul body as one. Chapter 799. The treasure-hunting army was besieged by a sea of clay figurines, and almost all of them fell into a bitter battle. No one had expected Nuwa's remnant soul to be able to suppress 100,000 experts so easily. Nuwa's remnant soul is too strong. She can create hundreds of thousands of 8-star earth cultivation clay figurines in one go. What kind of heaven-defying strength is this? No one can get close to her now, let alone snatch the treasure. Nuwa seems to be rising. She's going to fly. It seems that no one can snatch the treasure. At that moment, a gray shadow flashed through the large number of clay figurines and rushed toward Nuwa's remnant soul. Tiger descends the mountain. Suppressive fire. Get lost. Lu Chen held the Soul God Cannon and used the Psionic Space Cannon to open a path. At the same time, he took 9 steps in the air to avoid many skills and rushed toward Nuwa's remnant soul. That guy. Someone saw Lu Chen and widened their eyes. Someone's going to snatch the treasure. At that moment, the experts hidden in the crowd finally appeared. From each formation, hundreds of figures rushed out at the same time and chased after Lu Chen. These guys could really keep their composure and waited until now to make their move. Nuwa's remnant soul, which was the size of a small mountain, lowered her head slightly and glanced at Lu Chen. Heaven mending! A palm strike came. Lu Chen had seen the power of this palm strike before. It could easily kill many earth cultivation experts. Oh no, dodge! Someone shouted from behind, and Lu Chen hurriedly prepared to dodge. However, a huge wave of spiritual power surged over, and Lu Chen suddenly realized that his displacement skills were all ineffective. It was no wonder that such an ordinary palm strike could kill so many earth cultivation experts. Under the powerful spiritual pressure, there was no way to dodge. Unfortunately, everyone realized it too late. The heaven-mending palm was already coming. Without displacement skills, the only way to survive the heaven-mending palm was to use a shield. Celestial worthy fan. Mighty martial god body. Ice and fire shield. Fiery body. Some people had already used their magical shield skills, their profession's shield skills. In short, they used all the shields they could. These people were indeed powerful. Lu Chen had never seen these shield skills before, so their levels should not be low. Lu Chen also activated his blood sacrifice shield. Now, the members of the army were much stronger than before, and the number of members had also increased. Lu Chen's blood sacrifice shield's durability had reached 140 million, and he did not activate 3 lives reincarnation in advance to use skills that would damage his health. In addition to his HP, he should be able to withstand around 200 million damage. However, this was the 5th layer of heaven. Once the bloodstained shield was broken, even if the battle soul didn't die, the physical body would die. He had to protect both of them. Lu Chen's mind raced. The damage of the heaven patching palm should be able to deal 200 million damage per second. Therefore, it was impossible to protect the war soul. However, the war soul had the ability to lock on to its HP. The key was to protect the body. After weighing the pros and cons, Lu Chen decisively activated his skill. Divine Demon Lotus Heart, Inner Demon. Lu Chen activated the heart's demon state, further increasing his attributes. Most importantly, the 80% reduction in damage to his physical body, coupled with the 10% reduction in the ferocious beast's skin, could reduce the damage to his physical body by 90%. Of course, the price was that in this attack, Lu Chen would have to suffer double the damage. He had completely given up on the idea of using his war soul to block the palm. He just wanted to protect his physical body. When the palm pressed down, Lu Chen only knew how terrifying it was when he was in the heaven-patching palm. In front of this palm, Star Destroyer was like a gentle stream, but the heaven-patching palm was like a tsunami. The spiritual energy was completely unable to resist, and Lu Chen's war soul was directly destroyed. Fortunately, his physical body entered the divine demon mixed element domain at the end, and he was invincible for 15 seconds. However, Lu Chen's physical body did not suffer any damage. This palm seemed to have only defeated the war soul, and Nuwa's remnant soul did not really want to kill these people. Since his physical body was not damaged, Lu Chen quickly activated the heart's demon state. What surprised Lu Chen was that, logically speaking, his war soul's strength was definitely top-notch, but in the end, his war soul was reduced to a sliver of blood. However, most of the war souls behind him had blocked Nuwa's heaven-patching palm. Although Nuwa's heaven-patching palm could not attack the physical body, the war souls were able to block this palm. These guys' war souls were extremely powerful. The 5th heaven was indeed a place with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Although there were dozens of people here who had blocked the heaven-patching palm, an invisible spiritual energy wall had formed in front of them, and they could not pass through. Many people looked at each other until they saw that the others could not continue to force Nuwa's remnant soul. Only then did they feel slightly relieved. Imperial Sword Astral Form. Someone was the first to think of a way to break through, intending to use the astral form to try to break through the array. However, it seemed to be of no use, and they still could not pass through this spiritual energy wall. So this is the strongest effect of the heaven patching palm. It is called heaven patching, and it can even patch up the sky. Naturally, we can't pass through, a white-haired old man said. At this time, Nuwa's remnant soul had leaped higher and higher, and its huge body began to float in midair. It looked like it was about to fly into the sky. Lu Chen did not know where this fellow was going to fly to, but with the strength of Nuwa's remnant soul, it was very likely that she did not belong to the fifth heaven. Once she flew into the sky, they might not have another chance to obtain the ancient god's blood. Damn it! How can we pass through? Some people around used skills to attack, while others used astral form, but they could not pass through. Suddenly, Lu Chen remembered a sentence. Everything has spiritual energy. It was still necessary to rely on spiritual energy to enter the minute realm. Lu Chen quickly entered the minute realm state of spiritual energy, and a thick gas surrounded them. This should be the effect of the heaven patching palm. Lu Chen tried to attack the spiritual energy wall, but his spiritual energy was like hitting cotton. Although it could cause fluctuations, it could not penetrate. Next to him, there was someone using the martial god astral form. Lu Chen could see that he had transformed into a streak of light and rushed into the spiritual energy wall. The spiritual energy around the spiritual energy wall immediately surged over and squeezed him out. This spiritual energy wall is different from normal spiritual energy shields. Spiritual energy shields forcibly block attacks, but this wall is like a flowing liquid that can quickly recover. This spiritual energy is very resistant to other types of spiritual energy. As long as it is not a part of the body, it will be pushed out. Lu Chen was burning with anxiety, but he still forced himself to calm down. Let's try chaotic element conversion. Lu Chen changed his elemental attribute and tried to pass through the spiritual energy wall. Chaotic spiritual energy was spiritual energy formed in the creation stage. It had no attribute, and it was the most primitive form of spiritual energy. In the instant that Lu Chen stepped into the spiritual energy wall, he did not feel any resistance. Yes, I need chaotic spiritual energy. Right at this moment, Nuwa's remnant soul suddenly stopped rising. She lowered her head and narrowed her eyes slightly as she looked at the figure slowly walking out from the heaven patching palm. Chaos spiritual pill? A hint of surprise appeared in Nuwa's eyes. Why would someone here have a chaos spiritual pill? Chapter 800. What the F***ck? How did that guy just walk out like that? The remaining experts were shocked. Others had used their ultimate moves and astral bodies, but they had all failed. But that guy did nothing and just walked out like that. Do we have to walk over with a calm heart? Someone suddenly realized this point. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down before walking towards the spiritual energy wall. Not long after, he was pushed out by the spiritual energy wall. And, is my state of mind still not calm enough? Yes, I did feel a slight fluctuation just now. I must have a calm heart. Many people were inspired. Calm heart? And I should be able to do it. Countless battles have improved my state of mind. If that kid can do it, so can I. Immediately, a group of people gave up attacking the spiritual energy wall and changed their strategy. They walked towards the spiritual energy wall in a calm state. However, each attempt was met with a merciless blow. Impossible, I have already entered a state of meditation, how can I still not pass? Are you crazy? How can that guy pass? I don't believe it. F***ck, what the F***ck is this? Why can he pass? Lu Chen glanced behind him. Anyone who walked out would be his competitor, and he had to be on guard at all times. However, after a while, it seemed like they had only learned the form, and no one had a chaos spiritual pill. Lu Chen breathed out in relief. This was great. The spiritual energy wall helped him block off his competitors. At this time, Nuwa's remnant soul was floating in front of Lu Chen. You can actually pass through the heaven patching formation. You're a little interesting. Nuwa's remnant soul looked at Lu Chen with interest. Facing Nuwa's remnant soul, Lu Chen dared not be careless. You came here alone, aren't you afraid I'll kill you? Nuwa suddenly said. Lu Chen stared fixedly at Nuwa. I have to be mentally prepared to snatch your treasures. Nuwa sized up Lu Chen, and the more she looked, the more frightened she became. Suddenly, Nuwa waved her hand, and a domain-like area appeared around them. Within this domain, there was only her and Lu Chen, and the others suddenly disappeared. You teleported me? It's not a teleportation. You might have a chance to find out in the future. Are we going to fight here? Nuwa merely smiled and did not answer Lu Chen's question. Celestial Devil Symbiosis, Chaos Spiritual Pill, Ancient Devil Blood. Nuwa was surprised to hear this. How did you get the primordial devil blood? A friend gave me the ancient demon blood pill to save me. Lu Chen had nothing to hide. This guy could actually see through his secret with a single glance. His strength was truly unfathomable. Nuwa's remnant soul nodded. Yes, the cycle of cause and effect. You risked your life to save your friend, so it's inevitable that you'll be recognized by the demon race. It's just that your luck is pretty good. Their clan has the bloodline of an ancient demon god. That's why you have the chance to obtain the ancient demon blood pill. It's just that the concentration of demon blood is still too low. Lu Chen's mind buzzed. Not only could Nuwa's remnant soul see through his secret, but she also knew about his past? Nuwa seemed to have seen something, and a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. Solipsistic, I didn't expect you to shoulder such a heavy burden. Do you know how difficult your mission is? Lu Chen only had one mission now, and that was to restart the five heavens. Nuwa's remnant soul should be talking about this. He really couldn't hide anything from her. I say, you're so omniscient, how are we going to fight? Lu Chen couldn't help but complain. Fight? You're still not my match. It would have been fine if someone else said that, but Nuwa's remnant soul had seen through all of Lu Chen's secrets before saying that. Coupled with the fact that she had only used 2 moves to make everyone struggle, it seemed that she wasn't bluffing. Since the profound gold koi has seen you, then you should know what treasure I have on me. What kind of symbiosis body are you? Without the restriction of god blood, your demon blood won't be able to play its role. I can understand why you didn't hesitate to snatch the treasure. Lu Chen suddenly had an impulse to not snatch the treasure. In front of Nuwa's remnant soul, he was completely seen through. The little golden koi was right. She wasn't someone he could deal with. AI, how can she be so strong? Lu Chen shook his head. It seems that I won't be able to snatch it. Nuwa's remnant soul smiled. If you want the god blood, you don't have to defeat me. And Lu Chen, who had already given up hope, suddenly raised his head and looked at Nuwa. Could it be that there was still a chance? Nuwa raised the colored crystal in her hand. I was originally looking for the inheritor of god blood. Originally, to become an inheritor of god blood, one has to be at least at the 7 heavens, but you have piqued my interest. The stone in my hand is the divine sky-mending stone. If you can pass my test, I can give you a portion of god blood. Only 1 portion? Nuwa smiled. You don't have much demonic blood in your body. Only when the god blood and demonic blood are balanced can you unleash their power. So it's useless to give you more. If you want to obtain more god blood and demonic blood, you have to fight for it yourself. Lu Chen thought about it. It seemed that he didn't have much choice. He could only say, what test? Nuwa smiled. She raised her hand and a huge suction force came. Lu Chen was directly sucked into the colored crystal. The wind and clouds suddenly changed. The surroundings suddenly turned into an ancient forest. The huge trees were even taller than Nuwa's remnant soul, which was hundreds of meters tall. The sky was blue and high, dotted with white clouds. This is the test. Follow me to mend the sky, Nuwa said and suddenly rushed into the sky. Lu Chun originally thought that he was trapped in the crystal, but only now did he realize that he had misunderstood. He wasn't trapped in the divine sky-mending stone. Instead, he had directly become a part of the divine sky-mending stone. Damn! What the hell? Lu Chen was a little flustered. However, he could no longer feel his limbs. Only his consciousness was trapped in a corner of the divine sky-mending stone. He couldn't move. Wait, don't tell me you want to use me to mend the sky? However, Nuwa was no longer speaking. She dragged the divine sky-mending stone with one hand and her huge body continued to rush into the sky. Lu Chen was a little flustered. If he was trapped in the divine sky-mending stone forever, wouldn't he become a part of the sky and be imprisoned forever? He wanted to ask Nuwa if there was any room for negotiation or change to another test. However, Nuwa was no longer paying attention to him. She only cared about rushing into the sky. Damn, don't. There was indeed a black spot in the sky. It was especially conspicuous against the blue sky. Outside the hole was the outer sky? What was there? Nuwa's speed was impossible to determine. However, 10 minutes later, there was a loud boom in Lu Chen's mind. Afterward, Nuwa filled the hole in the sky with the divine sky-mending stone. Evil creature, stay in your place obediently. If you dare to take even half a step out of my territory, I'll kill you, Nuwa said before flying away. Lu Chen was very depressed. Was Nuwa talking to him in the end? Or perhaps this Nuwa didn't seem to be a remnant soul. The remnant soul had interacted with him, but this Nuwa had completely ignored him. However, the most depressing thing was that Lu Chen was currently fusing with the sky. F***ck, let me out! Nuwa, don't go. Lady Nuwa. Chapter 801. Nuwa did not seem to hear Lu Chen's shouts and left directly. Now, Lu Chen felt that he was the only one left in the world. Lu Chen could not feel his body. He could see the world under the sky, but he could not feel his own body. Lu Chen was rarely as confused as he was now. He didn't know what else he could do. Wait, Nuwa's remnant soul said that this was a test. There must be a way. 10 days later, Lu Chen still could not find a way to leave this place. He did not even have a body. No matter how hard he tried, it would be futile. Am I going to die here? Lu Chen looked at the world under him in despair. It's better to just kill me. 20 days later, Lu Chen was about to go crazy. His consciousness seemed to be locked in this area, and there was no way to escape. In his boredom, Lu Chen could only look at the world in front of him quietly. He could feel the wind blowing, and he could feel the subtle flow of spirit qi. This place was probably at least tens of thousands of meters away from the ground, but Lu Chen could clearly see every inch of the land, down to a grain of soil and a drop of water. What surprised Lu Chen was that there were humans living on the ground. There were all kinds of humans, and most of them hunted for a living. They would also grow some simple crops in the tribe. Day after day, although this was not Earth and seemed to be a human society in an era of low-level civilization, whether it was living creatures, plants, or objects, there was a faint dissipation of spirit energy. Everything has spirit energy. At this moment, Lu Chen felt more deeply about this sentence. If I can comprehend the spirit energy refinement here, it should be completely different from the feeling at the star waterfall. The spirit energy at the star waterfall was fierce and strong, but here it was more subtle. Unfortunately, he did not even have a body now. Naturally, he did not have a spirit pill. He could not use the spirit energy refinement at all, let alone comprehend it. In his boredom, Lu Chen turned over. Of course, in reality, he did not really turn over. He was now the divine sky-mending stone. He just changed his perspective. Behind him was an endless darkness. There was no end to it, and it was chaos. Is this the outer space? Lu Chen sighed. The sky that Nuwa mended, is it the sky of the fifth layer of heaven or the sky of a certain real world? But Lu Chen found that with the knowledge he had grasped, it seemed that it was somewhat difficult to understand the concept of sky. After all, under normal circumstances, the sky was only defined by people. The real outer space should be the vast universe. There was no such thing as a canopy. But on the other hand, the various mythical beasts in Jiutian and the gods seemed to be saying that many legends might be true. Could it be that at the end of science is God? Lu Chen didn't understand either. He didn't know where he was and could only judge based on his own experience. What surprised Lu Chen was that there was also spiritual energy outside the heavens. There's spirit chi in outer space too? Also, the guy Nuwa scolded before she left probably wasn't me. So, she might have been talking about some kind of creature from outer space. The nature of the spiritual energy there seems to be very similar to my chaos spiritual core. If I had a body, maybe my spiritual core would grow faster if I cultivated here. However, everything was just a fantasy. Lu Chen was still trapped here. After an unknown amount of time, Lu Chen could see the plants on the ground wither. Then, snowflakes fell. It's snowing. Autumn left and winter came. Snowflakes covered the village. It was the first time he saw winter in this world, but Lu Chen felt as if he had experienced a century. What test? Lu Chen no longer believed in the nonsense of Nuwa's remnant soul. She trapped him here and then ran away. The treasure hunt of millions of people should have ended long ago. Nuwa's remnant soul should have taken the divine blood to a higher heaven. The funny thing was that he was trapped in an unknown place. Before coming to the treasure hunt, he should have gone to see Lu Yi. Now, he probably wouldn't have the chance to see his sister again. He didn't know how her development was. There was probably no hope of restarting the fifth heaven. He also didn't know how much the magical beast sovereign had grown. It seemed that he couldn't fulfill his promise to Qian Qiushue. He felt really guilty. He probably couldn't continue to search for the answer he was looking for. He probably wouldn't have the chance to make it in time for the final battle. Maybe Earth wouldn't be able to escape that misfortune. Just like that, he was trapped here. After a few more months, Lu Chen no longer had the strength to vent. He could only accept this reality. The snow is melting. Lu Chen looked at the melting snow on the ground. Everything was recovering. There was no longer any ripples in his heart. All he could feel was the ordinary people in the villages on the ground. Their ordinary lives couldn't be more ordinary. At this moment, Lu Chen felt that something was approaching behind him. He quickly adjusted his position and started farming. He couldn't see clearly what was behind him. First, it was because there was almost no light in the sky. Second, even if there was, the other party's incomparably huge body couldn't be seen clearly. What Lu Chen could see was a pair of incomparably huge eyes. They were like planets emitting surging magma. What is this thing? Lu Chen was so shocked that he was speechless. A few hundred years ago, Nuwa's remnant soul was only a few hundred meters tall. However, this guy's size had reached an unimaginable level. The other party seemed to have noticed that this was the weakness of the sky curtain. It slammed its claw over. Although Lu Chen didn't have a physical body, he still felt dizzy. Oh my God, what the hell is this thing? Why is there such a terrifying monster? No, this should be the guy that Nuwa was talking about. Was it the one that tore open the sky curtain? Before Lu Chen could react, the other party slammed its claw over again. Lu Chen almost fainted. It was as if the other party had slammed into his soul. Damn, what kind of attack power is this? Even the divine sky-mending stone can't take it. A crack appeared on the divine sky-mending stone. At this time, Lu Chun suddenly thought of a question. Wait, if the divine sky-mending stone is shattered by this guy, will I be free? He was trapped in the divine sky-mending stone. If the divine sky-mending stone was damaged, there would be no restrictions. With this thought, Lu Chun couldn't help but become excited. However, Lu Chun had another thought. If the divine sky-mending stone was destroyed and the sky curtain was torn open again, wouldn't that guy be able to enter this world through the hole? Without a doubt, to this world, such an unimaginably terrifying creature was undefeatable. Many tribes on the ground also felt the earth tremble. They looked at the horizon in horror. Even if they didn't know what was happening, it probably wasn't anything good. Many tribes opened altars and prayed for the protection of the gods. However, Nuwa didn't appear this time. Lu Chun stared intently at the two huge eyes. Should he hope that the behemoth would destroy the divine sky-mending stone, or that the divine sky-mending stone could withstand it? Chapter 802. Suddenly, Lu Chun couldn't move, but every time the beast attacked, Lu Chun could feel a strong impact. From this point, he should have some kind of connection with the divine sky-mending stone. The giant beast's attack came again. Lu Chun almost fainted from the heavy blow, but he forced himself to stay awake. Damn it, I can't let you enter this world. Boom, boom, boom. The series of attacks made Lu Chun feel unbearable pain, but he endured the pain and tried his best to stay awake. Divine sky-mending stone, if you've merged with my consciousness, then hold on for me. The divine sky-mending stone, which already had a crack, was still holding on after being attacked continuously. The beast didn't understand what was going on. It stopped attacking, as if it was surprised that the divine sky-mending stone was so hard today. After a few more attacks, the divine sky-mending stone was still standing strong. Lu Chun shouted angrily, "Why isn't Nuwa here yet? If this goes on, that guy will break in. Damn it, come on, I won't let you in." After a few more attacks, the beast finally stopped. Its two huge eyes closed slightly, and Lu Chun couldn't find it anymore. Lu Chun finally breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, he was almost scared out of his wits, but he managed to hold on. I don't know if it will come again. If it comes again, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on. Lu Chun breathed a long sigh of relief. Although he won temporarily, Lu Chun couldn't raise his spirits. This also meant that he would continue to be trapped here. Forget it, I'll be trapped here. Actually, I'm a little tired. From the first layer of heaven until now, Lu Chun had imagined stopping to rest, but there were too many reasons for him to stop. Now, he finally had the chance. Watching those humans develop wasn't too boring. Lu Chun, wake up. Just as Lu Chun decided to return to his half-dead state, a voice suddenly sounded. Lu Chun fiercely opened his eyes. To his surprise, he discovered that he was no longer inside the divine sky-mending stone. Everything around him had changed. At this moment, there was only him and Nuwa's remnant soul around. Is this an illusion? Lu Chun's eyes widened. If it was really an illusion, then this illusion was too terrifying. It was exactly like the real thing. He had truly stayed in that world for more than half a year. Every day felt so real. It's an illusion. I've brought you into the illusion of Nuwa mending the heavens. The words of Nuwa's broken soul confirmed Lu Chun's guess, and made Lu Chun break out in cold sweat. If he used this illusion in battle, he wouldn't even know if he was killed. Lu Chun, can you tell me why you chose to protect that world? Nuwa's remnant soul looked at Lu Chun. Lu Chun's mind was in a mess. After a long silence, he roughly sorted out the sequence of events. Everything he had just experienced was an illusion. It was a terrifyingly realistic illusion. I don't know. Those people were no different from me. At that time, only I had the ability to stop the unworldly abomination. If I had given up, they would all have died. Lu Chen shook his head and said, "Besides, I wasn't sure if I could be free after the divine sky-mending stone was destroyed. Even if I could be free, if the unworldly abomination came, I wouldn't be able to stop it." Nuwa couldn't help but laugh. "So you don't really care about the common people. You made a choice after fully weighing the pros and cons." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "I'm not a saint. I don't know them." "Then what if you could escape? Would you choose to help them?" "No," Lu Chen said directly. "Ha ha ha ha, Lu Chen, actually you overlook something." Lu Chen looked at Nuwa strangely. "What? You do have a selfish side. You are not the kind of person who would sacrifice yourself for others. Before you do something, you consider the pros and cons. However, when faced with something you can't be sure of, when you have to make a choice, you will often choose to be kinder to the weak. You are more inclined to choose to satisfy your own needs from your enemies, but to the weak, you will always be sympathetic. Your world has its own standards of good and evil. Even if the Jiutian rule is that the strong are respected, you will always adhere to the good and evil in your heart." Lu Chen frowned. "I only do things with a clear conscience." Nuwa's remnant soul smiled. "People often say that if you can't change the world, you have to change yourself. But you are a person who goes against the rules. No matter how the world changes, you will never be able to change yourself. Don't forget your original intention, and you will always be there." It's a simple phrase, but how many people in this world can do it? "Lu Chen, you have passed my test. I can give you a share of the primordial god's blood." Lu Chen's eyes widened. He had actually obtained the god's blood in this way. When he thought about it, it didn't seem too difficult. "Are there any other tests? Maybe I can pass." Nuwa couldn't help but laugh. "Don't be too greedy. It's useless for you to have more. As for the future, it will depend on your luck." Nuwa waved her hand, and Lu Chen found that the environment around him changed again. Behind him was the wall of spiritual energy left behind by Nuwa's heaven-patching palm. Many experts were still trapped inside, but at this time, they had already given up trying and could only stare at Lu Chen. "What is that guy doing? It's been several minutes. Why hasn't Nuwa's remnant soul attacked him? It's useless to go over. Nuwa's remnant soul isn't something we can deal with now. I think it's an existence from a higher heaven." "Don't worry, the strength of Nuwa's remnant soul is beyond our understanding. That guy won't be able to snatch the treasure." However, at this moment, everyone suddenly saw Nuwa's remnant soul raise her finger and cut a wound on her palm. Then, a drop of bright red blood flew out from the wound and landed on that guy. Then, Nuwa smiled at that guy. The fifth heaven is facing a huge opportunity, and at the same time, it's about to face a heavenly tribulation. Solipsistic, let's see how you continue to persist in your own good and evil in this storm. What you experienced in the heaven-patching mirage, if you have the time, it might be useful to you. After saying that, Nuwa blew gently, and Lu Chen was directly swept away by the wind and disappeared without a trace. What about that guy? Did he get the treasure? I don't know. Why did Nuwa injure herself just now? What is the heaven-patching mirage? The rain is too heavy, I can't hear clearly. Before everyone could figure out the situation, Nuwa had already risen again and flew toward the sky. Dozens of minutes later, the mud man on the ground suddenly lost his life and turned into a pile of mud on the ground. At the same time, the spiritual energy wall also disappeared. The rain stopped, the dark clouds dispersed, and the pitch-black sky gradually returned to normal. However, Nuwa's remnant soul had already disappeared without a trace. These people looked up at the sky, their eyes full of confusion. In this treasure hunt, there were less than 30,000 people left in the million-strong treasure hunt army. Although Nuwa's remnant soul's attack didn't kill anyone, the astronomical protection from before had killed many people. When the spiritual energy turbulence and the water on the ground disappeared, corpses appeared one after another. This is the price of snatching the treasure. Uncle Chin looked blankly at the corpses on the ground and shook his head. However, the only person who had rushed out of the spiritual energy wall didn't get the treasure, and where did he go? Chapter 803. Lu Chen was now dozens of miles away. Nuwa is probably afraid that I will be attacked by others after the soul-body fusion state ends. Lu Chen could not help but sigh at Nuwa's meticulousness. Although Lu Chen had only spent a few minutes breaking through the spiritual power wall, Lu Chen had spent half a year in the heaven-mending fantasyland. Although it was an illusion, it felt so real that Lu Chen could still remember it clearly. Was that world real? If Nuwa's heaven-mending fantasyland was real, then was the unworldly abomination real? Lu Chen could not figure it out for now, so he could only stop thinking about it. There are countless possibilities in the Jiutian. Lu Chen could not help but sigh. If I can go to a higher heaven region, I hope to meet her again. Lu Chen's thoughts finally returned to reality. The primordial divine blood was directly integrated into Lu Chen's body. He leaned against a tree stump and checked his own status. His war soul had been upgraded from beginner heavenly soldier and beginner demonic soldier constitution to rank 4 heavenly might, becoming intermediate heavenly soldier immortal constitution and ultimate demonic soldier immortal constitution. At the same time, the worship of heaven and defying demonic might's attributes had doubled. The 2 innate powers provided an upper limit of 3 million attributes. After the divine demon set's exclusive bonus, it became 6 million. When the 2 heavenly mights were activated at the same time, his attributes increased by 12 million. The increase was still very obvious. In addition, the backlash effect was reduced to 12 hours. Finally, rank 4 heavenly might. Lu Chen said excitedly. However, I have the primordial divine blood demonic seed, so it should be stronger than the average divine blood demonic seed. There should be some other changes. There were no other changes to his war soul, so Lu Chen opened his body's attribute panel. There were no changes to his 3-dimensional spiritual power or ranking. It was still below 2 million. However, a line of red words appeared in the last row. Creation bloodline choose to activate. What's that? Lu Chen chose to activate the creation bloodline. As soon as he activated his all things bloodline, Lu Chen felt a series of cracking sounds coming from all over his body. His muscles were forced to stretch, and sometimes they would completely relax uncontrollably. Fortunately, there was no one around. Otherwise, if they saw Lu Chen's current state, they would definitely think that he was convulsing all over, having epilepsy. However, throughout the entire process, Lu Chen did not feel any pain. Instead, his muscles felt very comfortable. It was not inferior to a full-body massage. This feeling was somewhat similar to the feeling of strengthening one's physical body and bones when breaking through a major realm. Activating the myriad creation bloodline. My physical fitness has been strengthened. My spiritual core has been condensed into an ancient spiritual core. Creation bloodline, level 1, max level 5. 4-dimensional enhancement, 10%. The increase in physical enhancement will not be included in the cultivation level. Consuming beast pills can increase the level of your bloodline. Ancient bloodline and battle soul bloodline effects can be stacked. Lu Chen hurriedly looked at his own attribute. Sure enough, his 4-dimensional attributes had increased by 10%. For example, his spiritual energy had increased from 40,000 points to 44,000. The increase in physical enhancement was not included in the cultivation level. Lu Chen wondered if he would not become an 8-star wild cultivator even if he added another 1,000 points of spiritual energy. Thinking of this, Lu Chen searched in his backpack and really found more than 1,000 cash withdrawal scrolls. He hurriedly added them to the spiritual energy category. Spiritual energy. 45,100. However, he really did not become an 8-star wild cultivator. F***ck, it really doesn't count in the cultivation level. Lu Chen frowned slightly. However, on second thought, he did not seem to care about the cultivation level. The various attributes were the true strength. The cultivation level was only related to one's status, benefits in the sect, and so on. He was a wild cultivator. Why would he care about the cultivation level? An increase in attributes is a good thing. Cultivation level and ranking don't matter. Lu Chen was very quickly relieved. The most important thing was still the battle soul. Lu Chen switched to the battle soul interface. Sure enough, all the attributes had increased by 10%. The basic attributes of the battle soul were already very high. An increase of 10% was already a significant increase, especially the spiritual energy. Lu Chen did not have any bloodline before. Titles could increase the percentage of spiritual energy, but the universal bloodline could do that. 4 million spiritual energy. It can actually affect the body and the battle soul at the same time. This universal bloodline is quite strong. This time, after fusing with the ancient god's blood demon seed, Lu Chen's divine power had increased to level 4. Coupled with the increase in attributes, his strength had increased greatly. Oh right, this thing can still be upgraded. The increase will be even greater in the future. At the same level, in terms of attributes, I will be stronger than others. In the first heaven, Lu Chen's battle soul had a star level and bloodline. In the fifth heaven, Lu Chen actually obtained a bloodline that could strengthen the body. This made him very excited. Consuming beast cores can increase the level of the universal bloodline. I still have a few in my backpack. They were obtained from the snow mountain. Originally, they were for the beast god to grow in the future. However, Lu Chen did not hesitate to consume them first. In the end, after consuming 7 fifth transformation Swanee's beast cores, it did not level up. It seems that this thing needs a lot of beast cores to level up, or it needs a high-grade beast core. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I will have the chance to get it in the future. After understanding the ancient bloodline, Lu Chen leaned comfortably on the tree stump. He was in a good mood. From the fifth heaven onwards, the battle soul would be restricted. Increasing the body would become the most important thing. The activation of the ancient bloodline was definitely the beginning of a qualitative change. It is indeed a treasure. I didn't wait for so long in vain. After tossing and turning for so long, Lu Chen was also tired. He leaned on the tree and unknowingly fell asleep. In the morning, the sun shone through the leaves and shone on Lu Chen's eyes. When Lu Chen opened his eyes, he realized that it was already the next day. Damn, I actually fell asleep in the wild. Lu Chen shook his head. He was a little careless. Although the treasure hunt had ended, many people saw Lu Chen pass through the spirit wall. Even if they did not know that Lu Chen had obtained the ancient god blood, they would still suspect that Lu Chen had obtained the treasure. This place is only a few dozen miles away from the lower king city. It is not safe. Lu Chen hurriedly got up. He remembered that the little golden carp said that if he was still alive, he should go to the autumn water lake to find it. Lu Chen opened his map and searched for a while on the map. Unexpectedly, he found Qiushui Lake. For it to appear on this map, it meant that the autumn water lake had existed for a longer time than the sky lake. A lake that existed in the ancient era? Lu Chen was a little surprised. After carefully checking the location of the autumn water lake, Lu Chen discovered that the autumn water lake was southwest of the ancient king city. I don't know if the ancient king city is still there. If it is, it might be a little troublesome. Others don't know who I am, but the people of the Dong Yu imperial family have seen me. They should remember me. Lu Chen frowned. If he was discovered by those people, he was afraid that they would not let him off so easily. But the little golden carp doesn't seem to be an ordinary magic beast. The warning it gave me before was actually correct. The strength of the treasure's guardian is indeed outrageous. What did it want to tell me? After hesitating for a moment, Lu Chun stood up. I should go and take a look. If the Dong Yu imperial family really found me, at worst, I'll just destroy them. Chapter 804. 3 days later, the treasure hunting area was still in shambles. The ground was cracked, and there were traces of water erosion on the surface. Bo Fan and his disciples looked at this scene with a serious expression. Falling Dust, what do we do now? Bo Fan asked his disciple. Although Falling Dust was still Bo Fan's disciple, he now had another identity, an identity that only a few people knew about. The aura emanating from Luo Chen's body was different from before. His gaze was very calm as he said indifferently, with the appearance of the storm, the rise of the heroes. The fifth heaven is surging like a storm. It's about time for those old fellows to come out. Lu Chen was rushing to Autumn Water Lake. He was now rushing during the day and staying in the forest at night. If there was a city nearby, he would go and resupply. In a medium-sized city, Lu Chen found a teleportation circle and took some time to go back and see Lu Yi. The guide project was still ongoing. As the strength of the Earth players increased, the power of the guide project was further revealed. Not long ago, Lu Yi said that only 2,000 people had reached the fourth layer of heaven. However, only 3 months had passed and there were already 7,000 Earth players who had reached the fourth layer of heaven. After Lu Chen re-established the rules of the fourth layer of heaven, the environment was much more relaxed than before. These top experts were developing very smoothly. Although Lu Chen had given Lu Yi 12 immortal pills last time, they were extracted from the real world and were used in the real world. The improvement of the battle soul was very small. Lu Yi was still busy leveling up and increasing the strength of her battle soul. Of course, Lu Yi's attributes in the real world were already very terrifying. She should be second only to Lu Chen. Her physique was far beyond the standard of ordinary people. Lu Yi probably missed her brother, so she took a day off to have supper with Lu Chen at Old Sue's barbecue. On the other hand, Li Muhua said that he wanted to seize the time to cultivate and was unwilling to come out. In the list of 7,000 people, Wild Wave was the largest. Many of Lu Chen's old friends had entered the fourth layer of heaven. Ling Nua, Ning Shuang, Hua Xiang, 10 Steps. They had also entered the fourth layer of heaven. It was a pity that Lu Chen had already left the fourth layer of heaven. Otherwise, everyone could have a good gathering. The development of the players on Earth was very good, and Lu Chen felt a lot more at ease. Perhaps in the Swirl World, the era where anyone could stop a speeding sports car with one hand would come sooner than 17 years later. Lu Chen looked around at the people eating barbecue. These people were also talking about Jiutian. It was as if Jiutian had integrated into their lives and become an inseparable part of them. In the few years since Empyrean's launch, it had changed the entire world from a popular online game to one that completely changed the world. Under the joint efforts of the Earth Alliance, the people of Earth were working hard to become stronger, trying to occupy a place in this endless universe arena. As for himself, from an ordinary person who entered the game for the purpose of making money, not only did he become a super rich man, but he also became the leader of all the players in the world. "Brother, what is the fifth heaven like?" Lu Yi suddenly asked. Lu Yi's voice was not loud, but it attracted the attention of a few people around them. They could not help but turn to look at the brother and sister at the table. Lu Chen's hat was very low, and his face could not be seen. The same was true for Lu Yi. Now that she was a celebrity, she could not simply show her face in public. Lu Chen shook his head. "To be honest, I don't know either." The people around then looked away. Perhaps it was just a discussion between two young people who were interested in the fifth heaven. Lu Chen was telling the truth. There were still many doubts waiting for him to solve. If you asked him to describe the fifth heaven, he would not be able to say it clearly. In short, you guys should improve your strength. Since the guide has already told you that the fifth heaven is the interstellar travel of the body, then you should also know that you are improving the strength of the war soul. Don't underestimate the strength of the war soul. The strength of the war soul can still play a decisive role, at least in the fifth heaven. Lu Yi nodded heavily. Got it, brother. I will work hard. After eating, I will treat you this time. I am earning money now. Lu Chen was very happy to let Lu Yi pay the bill, so that she could feel a sense of accomplishment. At night, some people could not stand the loneliness, especially in this kind of informal barbecue restaurant, which was not far from the bar. Not far away, a few delinquents were pestering two girls. The two girls kept avoiding them, but the delinquents kept pestering them, and even started to get physical. Beautiful girl, you are wearing so little. Aren't you just for people to see? What are you afraid of? It's so late and you still came to the bar to hook up with rich guys. Are you lonely? Brother will play with you. I am very popular in the Jiutian. The two girls were terrified. You guys go away. What we wear has nothing to do with you. We just graduated and came out to celebrate. If you don't leave, we will call the police. Sister, don't pretend to be pure. It's boring to celebrate with just the two of us. Let's celebrate together in the hotel. Do you see this Bentley? I earned it in the Jiutian. Let's go, brother will take you for a ride. The two of them said as they pulled the girl's arms. Go away. Lu Yi had originally planned to pay, but when she saw this scene, she walked over. Old Su was about to call out to Lu Yi in a low voice, but Lu Yi had already walked over. He looked at Lu Yi's back nervously. Miss, you can't meddle in this kind of business. She is just a little girl. Call the police. Lu Chen shook his head and walked to Old Su's booth. He leaned against the mobile car and said, This guy, he can't go after paying. Isn't he going to let old brother treat him? Old Su, how much is it? When Old Su heard this voice, he realized that it sounded familiar, but he could not remember who it was. He looked at Lu Chen again and hurriedly said, Are you her brother? Why don't you hurry up and stop her? Those delinquents have weapons on them. Lu Chen did not take it seriously at all. It's fine, Old Su. I will scan your WeChat. After saying that, Lu Chen paid 500 yuan directly. Young man, you gave too much. Now is not the time to talk about this. Hurry up and stop your sister. Under the baseball cap, Old Su could see that the young man only smiled slightly. Old Su, don't worry. My sister will be fine. Besides, I am still here. Young man, your voice sounds familiar. I can't remember it at the moment. You are. I am your regular customer. Although I have been busy recently and only come once in half a year, I used to always eat your barbecue. Lu Chen played it down. As expected, the other side immediately made a move. Lu Yi was so fierce that she threw the three delinquents more than 10 meters away. When the surrounding people saw this, their eyes almost popped out of their socket. F***ck, a girl with monstrous strength. This. Is she a level 4 powerhouse? She is too strong. Wait, that kid is holding. Why does he have a gun? Oh no, something is going to happen. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.